Welcome everyone to the 101st Cash Knowledge Seekers Workshop. It's Thursday, February 18th, 2016. And once again, we're ready to go with another show here with activities of the Keshe Foundation. This is the agricultural blueprint teaching today. And we'll have a number of presentations from different agricultural aspects from around the world. And I think Mr. Keshe is ready to go, but we're going to play this video first of our One World, One Race plan video, and then we'll have a word from Mr. Keshe after that. Okay, here we go.
You have people listening from every corner of this planet. No knowledge has been dispersed so beautifully, so balanced across the planet, on this planet ever, maybe in the universe. You have the full potential of achieving everything in the universe. There is no need and there is no reason for man not to achieve. So, wherever you are, the way I taught you to make the coils double fall inside, you have continuous equal gravitational magnetic field, and if you put CO2 on it, and you put zinc on it, you have connected the emotion of the man to it on a stable condition, and you'll find out you become a very peaceful man. Here, instead of having galaxies and universes and creating connection magnetically, we have used the matter state gravitational magnetic field strength to dominate and dictate the shape of the plasma. The nanotechnology, the nanomaterial which you have collectively developed in different ways, by caustic, by electric currents, by whatever, fire or whatever, has that advantage that the matter, the nano and the plasma is all the same. So connection is very solid, it's very strong. The power of the plasma technology, the way we have thought, is beyond imagination of the man. Now you can create and control the plasma, which is the mother of the creation of the universe. You are given the seed of the essence of the creation. The foundation does not belong to no one and is not made of one anymore. You are developing it, you are structuring it, and from today we will be still the same. We'll still develop the technology in different names, in different colors, in different nationalities which they do not exist. It is beautiful when we see the Christian, the Muslims, the Jews, and every other belief are working together to build up systems. We have already become one faith. We already have become one nation, and we already become one planet. You got to remember one thing. Dates is irrelevant. Today is the last day of the Christian calendar, or tomorrow is the beginning of another. One day is connected to another. We don't stop. We are working round the clock. The Keshe Foundation team is working irrespective of time, position, religion, country. And now we achieve what we set out for.
Okay, that's such a lovely video. Um, I think we're ready for Mr. Kesh now. Mr. Kesh, are you ready to speak? I think we're going to show a promotional video as well after that.
Yes, so good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever you are, whenever you listen to these knowledge seekers programs, as we open the blueprint for the energy, we open the blueprint for health. Today we try to open a blueprint, in a way most of it you know, for health, agriculture and decontamination. And in the coming time we announce the final phase of the blueprint. And that'll be the spaceship program for lift and takeoff. We started the beginning, the first blueprint on the 16th of November or 26th of November, on the back of giving the technology to the governments. And we did most of the presentation. The second presentation, which was the health, was done partially between the foundation and members of the Keshe Foundations around the world. Today, we'll see the members of the Keshe Foundation around the world will show most of the agriculture and the contamination, and we add to it. And when we show the lift, you will see a full structure of the spaceship. You will develop the full lift. Then it'll be done by the people, not by the foundation. We will announce the date of it. I'll guide the teams who are working in the background in that direction to be ready for the final show. We do not disclose the time and the place, but it'll be shown when we decide it. But that'll be the blueprint. Then we show you how to build it, that you all can do it. So today's teaching is on the international basis of the blueprint or decontamination. We'll see some of the results which has come from different part of the world for decontamination and agriculture, and then we'll answer some questions. The most important thing at the moment around the foundation is one, as they say, why we come to Dubai and all the rumors which started in the background as we escaped from Italy, and it was mentioned in the interview I gave to Kerry Cassidy this morning. We haven't escaped from Italy. We have a fantastic time in Italy. We're still based in Italy. We are opening another base in Middle East. Dubai will be the base of Middle East as Italy is the base for Europe. So those who talk about these things are those who are well paid to do these things to distract. And in that level, we do not really consider these people because they want to buy another villa upper floor, maybe it's on the 15th floor of the same building. So they have to do their job. And in so many ways, we are here to serve humanity through human race, not here to be and to space time with whatever goes on around with the people who serve themselves and their pockets. Today's most important project for us is Dubai, to make Dubai the city of the spaceship city, to make the city of peace, and to make it the seat of the new structure of the governance of the Keshe Foundation, what we call universal community. In the Dubai conference, we ask you to bring as much technologies you developed around using the same technology with you, and we give you the facility to show it, to demonstrate it, and then we elect the next generation of what we call the rulers of, or the board, who will decide how the foundation has to go after my passing. This way, by that time, we set up the scene and open the door to the community, universal community, for all aspects of the technology. I cannot take the man into space if the man becomes a slave to the universal community. My job is to make sure the man comes equal, and you are only equal when you have all the knowledge. So all of us in different ways are developing different part of the technology, and the knowledge is across what we call the one planet community, that we are not nations that we have to fight who's controlling what. We control everything together and we teach everything together. This is one of the prerequisites to becoming part of the universal community, that we are one. So what you've seen, I've taken me time to teach you and to bring you to the point that every one of you start teaching and developing. Each one of you brings different flavor and different way to do the same thing or add to the knowledge to do something else. I was told that I steal technology. How can I steal a technology when I've given it to you freely? I guide you and I promote you, and in promoting you, do not get carried away that you are anything but a person who received the knowledge and sharing knowledge. We have seen some people who, using the knowledge and the ground we've given them to be teaching, they misguided themselves to become the leaders, and everything else is wrong with everybody else. We have no objection, we know these things will come, but it shows the weakness in the intellect of the man. So we will see in time to time people come and then they claim everything is wrong. It's okay if you add it to knowledge, but if you're wrong, we make sure your knowledge does not get dispersed to harm the others or do anything wrong, which we've seen in a couple of cases. In so many ways, the Dubai conference is to bring you together to teach each other, and at the same time share the knowledge which cannot be shared on the net, build the trust as one race with each other, reunion for the whole of the human race, that we start building a trusted world. In trust, then we can build the next step. And in that, we promote the peace conference. We have said, and it's been declared, because we are negotiating on a day-to-day basis for accommodation around the conference. It moves in one slow way, the other way fast way. One of the things which has been the main concern for people has been how they get the tickets, if they can get a ticket or need the visa. We have brought in a partner travel agents organization, well known in Dubai, that can accommodate your tickets the cheapest possible and accommodate your visas. They handle everything. Go to them, you go on the website, it says the partner travel agent. And they will look after you in every sense you need, the transport from the airport to the hotels and everything else. So we take that part of the equation out of your problem, that is not your problem. Once you make the booking, which you can come back. If you can get a cheaper ticket, you're quite welcome, but if we can organize it for you and the visa, everything is in there that we've done. So we're trying to accommodate as much as possible. After the first 500 tickets, we will increase. We have the option to increase. If we can keep it, we will. We increase the prices to 750 to meet the changes in the structure of the payments to hotels, as we are in a position of the very expensive hotels. And everything, there's a confusion. If you want to stay extra, you can stay another 5 or 7 days extra. It's €175 per night, not including the breakfast. And you can stay in the same hotel and have the facilities of the whole park of the hotel, which is international well known. Try to sort out these things that there is no confusion. When you join us with the payment for your food, it covers your breakfast and what we call a hot pot with the lunch and the tea breaks. That is for around €150 for 2 days. If you are in Dubai or part of the United Arab Emirates, or you have family who come here, you don't want to stay in a hotel, they're joining the fee for a day is €250, because the people who stay in the hotel, they don't pay that fee because it's covered as part of the hotel expenses. In so many ways, we are ready to change the humanity, and it's us who's got to do it. You don't need to be a member of the Keshe Foundation. You can come, feel and taste that sense of unity, and then join the Space University and University community as you feel, and become part of the new generation of the free man, not only on this planet, but in space. 21st, 22nd of April will be a part of the change in the course of humanity. Some of you will attend, and in generations to come, they say, I was there when it was established. Very much the way we remember different things where we were when it happened. Come in, be part of it, and you never know when you are here, if your soul brought you here or it was your decision to become a member of the council. We were not electing. will be guided. It's the new way, and it's the way it's done in space. There is no bribery and there is nobody who will be promoted. You will know how devoted you are, and you find yourself with yourself if you can and you be a member on the world executive power. Then we allow you to choose for us, because we give you our full trust. We have a video made for this, which should be ready. It's been the team we working in the background in US and Canada to get it done, and I was told it was just finished yesterday or last night. Would you like to play the promotion video for this, please? It's not coming up. Yeah.
Yep, we hear it and see
You're
it.
invited to partake in the creation of humanity's first Universal Community Council on April 21st and 22nd, 2016 in Dubai at the One Planet, One Nation, One Race Conference. World leaders and prominent business persons have been invited to attend. However, representatives of the Council will be selected irrespective of language, race, creed, or position in life. The Council will have many responsibilities. It will support the people of humanity and their governments. It will help bring balance across the globe and unite humanity for the benefit of all mankind. It will act as a bridge between humanity and the universal community. The first 500 packages sold will cost €500. All thereafter, €750, which includes one seat in the main conference room and 3-night stay in Dubai's prestigious 5-star Alanis Palm Hotel, 2 persons per room. Breakfast on the days of the conference are also included. 2 tea breaks and 1 lunch per day will cost an additional €75 per day. Discount airfares are also available. The One Planet, One Nation, One Race Conference. You're invited. We hope to see you there.
Thank you very much for all the people who work in the background to put this together. It is very nice to see that we can change the situation, and we can, as one nation, change and decide for our planet. In so many ways, as we say in English, the ball is in our court. We can't blame nobody. Human race has never had such opportunity, as I said in my talks, to have the financial position to be independent, that they can decide their own future. The foundation financing all these things in the background without any help from any government or organization that they can be tempted that we support it. We are doing it ourselves. We are doing it through our own strength by what we produce, what we sell as Keshe Foundation products like the health pads, the pen, which are released tomorrow, and by the power units and by the books, and if we receive donations. Strange enough is that hardly anyone makes any donation, and it shows how solid the foundation is. All of you come and take the knowledge and you see it, as it was said by somebody. Everybody expects everything free from the foundation. Which organization works like this? And they want everything, and if you don't do it, it's something wrong with us. So now you understand how much is wrong with you. How many of you have made the pen and relieved the pain? How many of you have helped yourself with the systems and build the stackers and save energy, and you have not contributed anything where the knowledge came from? We don't ask you, because from now on, every soul stands a judge to himself. And a lot of you making a lot of effort putting these units out in public, giving it away. Especially I know today while we were speaking, the Keshe Foundation team in Holland is giving units, pens and pads freely to people in public, teaching them what to do. I thank you, the Dutch group, the Dutch Keshe Foundation. We are based in your country, we started from your country. And in so many ways, it's your Keshe Foundation more than anybody else. In so many ways, we have to take the step to change the course. And in so many ways, we have to take and be there to change the course. We do not stand still in what we do, how we help, and what our help will come. So try to teach to as many as you can. We see teachings going around the world on a daily basis. We have become one of the most powerful, independent scientific organizations in the world because it's us, it's millions of us. Nobody can stop us, nobody can patent our technology because we give it freely, it's already patented in the soul of the man. I was talking to Lisa, says some Chinese have developed something but they want to commercialize it and they are very slow to come out. I said the minute they commercialize it, they come out, then it'll be part of the Keshe Foundation, so they receive the benefit of it by themselves. Please make sure all of you who are making things to give away as charity, whatever, do not use the logo of the Keshe Foundation SSI Spaceship Institute unless you receive authorization as a manufacturer from us. Because you make the pen and you give it freely, if anything happens to people, then you can cause yourself a lot of problem. When we give the copyrights, when we give this license to use the SSI, we give license on your behalf to protect you. We don't ask for any money. But like the Keshe Foundation SSI, the pads and the pens have received CE certification, which means we can go more or less everywhere with it, within the EU and worldwide. This is a certificate we have. If it's acceptable to your government, we make order. If it's not, it's your responsibility. We just ship it for you to make sure it's within the legal limits. I know a lot of people say manufacturers are responsible, but we are responsible to sell and the condition is there. If you want to import in your country, please get your certificate confirmed. We pass standards, we put things to the application of the standards and we try to comply with the international law. But if you are spending money so much to go everywhere, to do everything, all the 180 nations, we never get to produce anything. So we have got, all our products have the CE certification. It's your responsibility to make sure the product coming to your country is according to legislation of your nation when you order it. Or you accept it with your own responsibility. This is the way we are and we go very clearly about it. On the sale of the Keshe Foundation site, we put this on. These are goods certified because it's at the moment it's made in Europe. They have a CE certification. It's your responsibility to see if it fits your condition of your country and the licensing, and we put everything on. For those of you physicians in EU, we have a certificate as an alternative medicine in Belgium, which applies to most of the Europe automatically. So we can give you the certificate that these systems can be used. We teach you how to use it for your patients. We come to a very important point and then we start a blueprint day. I have received a number of calls and I see a lot of communications across the internet and to me directly. Please do not promote people to move because of the earthquake in or around the world. It's my responsibility to do as I see, because those of you who call me because you talk about it, it'll happen, it shows you have not even understood the work of the physicality of the plasma of the earth, and you stand responsible for the souls of those who you will cause the death of. Those of you who don't understand and go and say you are talking about it and it's happening, it means you haven't even understood. Volcanic eruptions, earthquake has happened for millions of years, the way this planet works, but we see a huge one on a scientific basis to happen, to take place, and it's our job to do to save lives. And those of you who write to us that I'm going to go public, that you're a fake and the rest because you don't stop promoting, it means any death caused because of any of the volcanic eruptions and the earthquakes which is pending, you are responsible for the soul of the people you have murdered. So we finish with this discussion and we carry on with the way it should be and it has to be done. It's the responsibility of us as scientists, which understand the work of the, not only the planet, but structure of the pressure on this planet. One, because of the motion of the magma underneath. Secondly, because of the change of the season and the pressure on the southern hemisphere at this time. And thirdly, because of the approach of the, what we call the second star, which is a twin star of the Earth, which creates certain pressures of its own, which increases the pressure at this time on the southern hemisphere. And fourthly, because of the position of our solar system with its twin sister in the funnel of the wings of the galaxy, there is a possibility, not tomorrow, next week, not maybe the next few months, but the next couple of months or next year or so, the pressures will crack or separate the thin layer of the continent of South America away at the point of Panama and floating on the magma. This is the reality. So those of say we're taking it out and it will not happen, we are from the center of the earth, please sir, if you are from the center of the earth and what you call the enlightened or the lightened one, whatever, please tell us what's happening inside in the center, and plus tell us how you are going to stop this. They call themselves the light workers. You are the darker forces ever existed because you don't work for the benefit of humanity. If you see a child running under a car, do you stand there and say the light will move you, or you move to move the child that the child doesn't get hurt? Human race is the child of the Creator and they'll be protected. So you can talk whatever you like, but those of you who come with these lines of whatever you are and you're going to expose, we fed you, we taught you, and now because you taught a few things, now you thought you know everything. It shows the lack of understanding and shallowness of the depth of intellect. So please move from California, from west coast of United States continent. My warning cannot be any stronger. We have seen it, now the pattern is getting stronger, and there is a huge possibility of, in a coming time, of movement of the continental plate, because everything is ready for it. And once that goes, and the pressure from on the southern hemisphere due to upcoming after 21st of February till around 20th, 18th of April is the switch time. If we see the approach of the second sun, which will put pressure on the southern hemisphere, is like a piece of metal. You keep on twisting it till at its weakest point is separate. We are in that position. Understand the physiology of it. The earth pressure on the southern hemisphere pushes now on the southern continent, which sits on the American continent. The magma is working anti-clockwise, so it's pulling it towards the African and Southern European section. That's why we said you will see earthquake in Southern Europe and in Northern Africa. We've seen it in Gibraltar, we've seen it in Argentina. It's following the same pattern. It's a combined forces which is creating this. I would like the people, the enlightened, what they call the light workers, please go underneath of this surface and hold it back if you can stand the heat of the magma. Wishes does not change the reality of the work of the nature. You stand in front of the fire in the bush and just blow at it and wish that will go away. You get burned in it if the blow is in your direction. And those of you who say we created and it can be done, you moved it, please go back to 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, when man had no understanding of the science and sacrificed a virgin girl, that the earthquake will stop. This is what was the tradition. We are going back to that dimension again with these people, because they thought the virgin body will stop the earthquake. And now we know, we laugh at it, the same thing is coming up again. So please move. Move in the orderly manner out of the west of American continent. Central continent will get pressurized through the same, and consequently the pressure will go into the north, and consequently it will come down in a lot of places. It just happened to be our time. The way it happened with the time of dinosaurs when the meteorite came, when the second star approached Earth and pushed all the meteorite towards the center. Now we are in the same position. And in a way, why American continent is in that position, look and see the structure. Look and then you understand why. There is a weak point, it's come to the point of, it's like a chewing gum when you pull it, and then at the weak point, it just snaps. The weak point between the two continents which can take the pressure is as Panama Point. And this is what we see it, and this is what we have and we have discussed to be. The position is relevant, and the backlash of these things will show itself in Philippines and other parts of the world in what we call the East Asia. How far and how fast it'll go, we don't know. The two things which has happened in past 20 or 24 hours, that's two days, 3 days. We have seen what is being the eruption or the beginning of the earthquake, which is opening up to a volcanic area within the California. And these, whenever happen, some of them have been dormant for 15,000 years. When this happens, always has followed with a heavy shift of the continental plates. And this is time when the southern continent splits, the shift will come, the powers will be much more powerful. Whenever Earth, what we call the volcanic eruptions, has happened in this part, according to the scientific data, within days and weeks, we have seen huge earthquakes in this level of the ocean level. And this has happened in past 24 hours. This is a clear warning. Go on the internet and look at the double volcanic earthquakes and the one before in the same area. Whenever it has happened at this level, the continent has started moving. It's where the magma can open up to release the pressure that the place can move. It's like a pressure cooker. Now it's opening up. So please assess yourself and consider yourself in which part of the world you are in danger or can be possibility of the danger. As you know, as I've said in the talk of Tuesday, and I especially mentioned it today, your government, His Excellency President Obama, for American nation, has put in order, after our talk in the 2nd of February, an executive order for the earthquake committee or group that will start looking at the earthquakes. This committee has to start acting. You don't have much time. This is very clear warning. This is the last time we make such a warning. It's the responsibility of governments to look after the people. It is the responsibility of the Keshe Foundation members to be ready in the time of accident. We have seen what we were waiting for to take place, and it has taken place. Now the clock is ticking. Those of us who accuse us of the scaring, you have to live with yourself. Why did I do this? When the warning came and I did not let people sleep, I changed the mind of one person to move because I thought I know. In fact, you are responsible for those who you change their mind because of your ignorance, and then you're responsible for their souls. I stand clear with my soul and what I know and what I'm here for. My responsibility as a scientist, as who I am, is to protect the children of the man. And we see problem. We are very clear about it. We don't care what people say just because they ate from our cup and they poisoned their own cup with it. My warning goes very clearly. Please start moving out of the west coast of United States, Chile, North Canada. We see waves up to 200 to 300 meters high in the long distance ships. I cannot be any clearer, and after today I go silent with it because I finished in and I explain scientifically to you what is the reason. The movement, you might call it a disaster, you might call it volcanic eruption, you might call it whatever, is imminent. Next few days, next few weeks, next few months. All depends on the pressures, and if all the pressures coincidentally come together, it'll be a huge catastrophe. We are safe in the city of Dubai. I am safe. I should not care about whatever happened to the humanity and the rest of it, but I do care. It's my responsibility. It's under my time, my watch. All as your light workers, please get on the ground and lift the earth just about 22 centimeters, that it doesn't snap with the pressures of the change of the season, and then we see if you are light workers. You are light liars, and you have found yourself a name to be working with. So I'm very clear, and it's the last warning we give you. I hope in the next sessions you still be with us, and in the sessions to come. And if you are not, and if anything happens, the Keshe Foundation is there to support you. The disaster of the movement of the two continents is imminent. Now, we go on how we can feed ourselves and look after ourselves in different dimensions in the space. Do not write to me and ask when it's going to happen, you are this, you are that. We made our point, we will not discuss it till the summertime. But make sure you understand the physiology of it, keep your eyes on it, because when it comes very, very rapidly. Because now the continental pressure on the southern core will push the American continent, once it goes loose, down, and all the volcanoes will pop like nothing. You can see the executive order on the 2nd of December when we made the original warning. The warning is absolutely in a critical point. And we've seen other scientists after our announcements are coming up with more proof of different places that can happen. And even the White House is not safe. Now, we go to the blueprint. Before we go, if there are any questions, because when we go in the blueprint, we will not come out of it till the end of the session today. Are there any other questions you want me to answer before I start?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, I'm from the Midwest in the United States, and I wanted to try to talk to people about getting out of California, but it's Midwest. They said there's a fault line or something that may also hit the Midwest. I hadn't heard much about that. I just wondered.
This is a report by the American scientists on the back of the presidential executive order that they are trying to assess, and what they see in different parts of the United States and different parts of the world, what might happen. We have seen increase in volcanic activities on the coastline of the west of the United States continent, and on the other end, which takes the pressure. We predict earthquakes in Tehran and Damavand zone as well, because it's a connection underneath which pushes it up. And it's due to, with this pressure is so high that Damavand can go, and we see the earthquakes in Tehran too, simultaneous or around the same time, depends what the pressure is. You got to understand, if the southern continent, American continent, goes down by another 5 centimeters, if it drops in the motion, it doesn't drop because it's free, it tries to find its own balance. Up to now, the northern continent and the Pangaea has kept it floating. It's like you're on a, what do you call it, jet ski, and with a rope to a man who's skiing. That rope has been the point of the continental position in Panama. And now, with that opening up, is on its own. Now he has to find its own balance. It's like when you drop a ball in the water in the pool, it goes up and down to find its balance. If its weight releases pressure more than it is on the continental magma, then we'll see the popping up like nothing. All the volcanic layers will pop up like popcorn, because it's the law of physics. When you drop something on a liquid, it has to create its buoyancy where it's going to stand, and it creates waves, and those waves will pop a lot of volcanoes. That's why we see a lot of volcanic activities at the moment, because at the point of Panama, the continent is made loose. The Chilean earthquake we saw a few months ago, when we announced it, the huge one, has shown the release of it. It was just like a pin holding it. Now the continent becomes free. It has to find, over the next decade, its balance, its buoyancy. And as it goes up and down the next 20 years to find, it will start popping. When it goes lower, it pops all the volcanic situations which have not worked for years. This is how it works. People, when this happens, we have two choices. If the continental plate is within the water, what happened in Fukushima, we see a huge tsunami hitting. If we see another one like what happened in Jakarta in 2005, we see the same. There is a possibility that the earthquake and volcanic eruptions and movement of this continents comes together because one triggers the other, then we do not know. We put the estimate in the region of anything up to 200 to 300 million. I see every day, I monitor the movement on a daily basis. And this is I don't predict anymore. I tell you what is going to happen. It's not a prediction anymore. We have finished with prediction. The movement will happen. It depends if the pressure from our twin star adds its force on the southern continent of America, then we'll have a deeper pressure. We add another 10 or 15 centimeters of depression into the magma, and Earth and this planet is a contained matter for its plasma. Well, you've done the physics. When you approach something somewhere, it has to come up in the liquid somewhere else. And the liquid magma will come through the volcanic eruptions. We even see now in past 48 hours, with a movement, Etna might go up to. Very possibility, high possibility.
Mr. Keshe, there's a question from Thomas Hedrick, who would like to ask you about the second star. Would that be okay to ask that question now?
Yes. It's our twin star, it's not the second star. I explained that. Listen to, please go back today and listen to Camelot. I just about an hour ago, so I gave an interview for a couple of hours to Kerry Cassidy on Camelot. I give another interview later on tonight, tomorrow, to Mike Harris. And then there is another one in to emphasize. We are heavily loading the American section to understand. We are on the verge of a huge movement of continental plates. It happened to be our time. If we didn't have internet, if we didn't have the community, we still would have had it. If we all sit and pray on the ground and move all the fields to us and somewhere in the space, if we were so good, why don't we fly out if you're so good? So this is going to happen. This is eventuality of the separation of the continent.
Okay, Thomas, can you, I'll unmute your microphone, see if you can speak there. Hello?
My name is Takesh. This is Thomas
Yes.
from Vienna.
Yes.
About this sometimes you referred about this as a second star or second sun or something. Is this the same object or planet are you referring to?
Yes.
So
It's approaching and it creates pressure on the platform of the continent on the southern. Actually, if you understand, you should be able to predict the direction of the incoming second sun.
Because I had two. Let's say I had one vision one day when I was walking at the fields and I saw a black star next to the sun on the left side. It wasn't as big as the sun, but it was black, not really black. The light was bending around it. So this was the first thing I wanted to tell. And the second one is I was researching the history of Babylon and the Sumerian gods and made really big drawings on my whiteboard. And Nibiru itself, it's just a star constellation of the star of Ea and Enlil. And I didn't get it yet completely, but there is something written in this text which is like a pronouncement, and it's written that this star will take the middle between Mars and Jupiter. Maybe I'm not sure about all the planets exactly, but there's something up to this. So maybe you have more information or can share your thoughts on this.
You see, the way we see it, the approach of the second sun. Let me explain the people who understand the reality of the second sun. Our sun, our solar system, it just didn't appear out of nowhere in this galaxy. The usual process is the same in a small and a bigger dimension. So what has happened? The way you get a neutron, which splits into a smaller and bigger part, becomes electron and proton, but it keeps its integrity, that they are still separately working for themselves, but they rotate around each other to keep each other in balance. The same thing has happened to our solar system. Our solar system is electron or a proton of the same division of a bigger star somewhere in the past. It doesn't create it on its own out of nowhere. And it has, the way it has lasted so many billions of years as we see it, is because it's got a twin star which absorbs all its energy, which it releases into its atmosphere, and it absorbs what energy that twin star sends, exactly like electron and proton. Finding single individual entities in the universe is very rare, and we are not one of them, because we are in part of a galaxy system, and the galaxy means collection. So we have a twin sister, or we have twinned with something else. This twin star of ours approaches, like anyway, the way in the electronic system we call it the bandwidth of the electron. So it moves within that bandwidth and rotates around each other. This takes something like 26 million years sometimes, this rotation, that they come very close. And every time, this, I explained this way this morning, every time it comes close, they put pressure on each other. And now, what we see, and the way I see that the American South Continent is moving, it gives me a very clear indication. The star is sitting in respect to where the South American continent moves or facing, and we can roughly predict the approach line of the second star through this division. Because it's moving, it's pressurizing so much, it's snapping. Most of the separations of like Australia and the rest has happened this way. With the movement of, you have a floating magma and you have a piece which is connected with the littlest piece. Every piece which is cut open like this has been hit by the meteorite or whatever, which is isolated, and then the isolation has allowed it to be separated by the movement of the magma and the pressures of the magnetic field. It's just like you get a piece of paper and you keep on twisting it, or get a piece of metal, you keep on twisting it up and down till it snaps. This is what's going to happen to the continent at this point. And this is what we see is coincidentally a lot of things are coming to be at the same time. So not only by looking at this southern continental movement, we most probably can see, if it happens radically, where the second sun is coming from. We got to look where the Earth in that position has been and which way the pressure is coming. So if you look, I can go on my camera, I can share a camera. We got a camera understanding. I'll show you exactly what is about to happen. And then you will most probably, can you allow me to share a camera? Because I don't need much. I cannot open my camera, Rick. Okay. You need to share. Okay. Let me show you what it is. This is what's going to happen in the continent. The pressure comes, and at the moment we are sitting on the magma. The continent has been narrowed, if I can show it. So we are in this point. Now the pressure on the magma, all is going to do like this, and then separation. The pressure is coming from the continental side, on the southern continent. It does not show the beginning of it where I announced in the before autumn, the pressure was on the northern hemisphere, which carries most of the Pangaea. The continent solid state could take it. But now we change of season, we are on the southern continent. This cannot take, and literally what we see is, for example, this is the pin where what we call the Panama Point. And now it's getting darkness, and now the pressure, and if the continental and the universal pressure on the second sun comes, it just snaps. What it does, the other end pushes down, with pushing down, pushes the magmas right across. And this is what we see, because the pressure is pushing new magmas to come out. So this side, the pressure is too high. It scientifically can be defined. We have no say in it. It's part of the process of our development of this planet. And this planet is a living thing, and it moves the way we do. And so we have this problem. Do not, under no circumstances, think because we thought about it, it came. Please, if it's the way of thinking and you're teaching our light workers, don't forget what they used to do, light workers. Virgin girls were sacrificed in hundreds to stop the disasters. I hope you're not in that region. Now it's a criminal offense. It's our responsibility to protect, and we work on it, we explain it, and if you go on it, the volcanic section of the continental American continent is becoming active because the pressure is coming at the end of the Southern America, the continental south, so it's pushing the rest up. Is very much, as I always explain, it's like a ball. You squeeze it, it has to show something somewhere. It comes out of somewhere else. It's a mass volume. The volume of it is fixed. You pressurize it, it has to show, it has to move. No way sitting and praying. Please sit down and pray. See if you can take the pressure, and then you will see how many lives you have to answer to. It's our responsibility. We take it seriously, and I again advise Your Excellency President Obama, you're listening to this program, as we know. We welcome you as usual. Please make provisions for your nation. My call goes again to the state of Japan. The nation of Japan, with the backlash of the, what they call tsunami, will be wiped out. The biggest concern is the nuclear reactors, which is totally separate. In this teaching today, we try to teach you how to decontaminate radioactive, as we did on Tuesday. And after today, we'll try not to speak about it, because I hope we are still together next time. And I hope we'll be together for a long time. But it's our job to protect. And it's our job to explain. It's you who have to make the decision. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, I just wanted to share just one last story about the stuff I found out, if it's okay.
Yes.
All I could find in all of these books and all of this history is that it has happened many times in the past, and all religions, it's written in all these books. And about this, there are the Igigu who were working for the Anunnaki a long time ago, and it was, let's say, ordered by a goddess council of 50 people, the Anuna. But in the end, the Igigu rebelled or something against the Anuna, and they made another agreement so they can work and live with them side by side. So there are always this story where men, or call it differently, but part of them is God, that they grew up to this universal community and resident side by side with their creators or something. So the story ends good all the time. But there is the flood, and there is this movement and all of these shifts coming, but in the end they get close to each other again.
Thank you very much. Are there any other question?
Yeah, there's a question about the ways to pay for the April 21st conference. Tim says that his community bank does not allow international wire transfers, and is there any other alternate way to send the 500 euros
It's 650 euro, including your food. We don't know. Depends what organizations allow. I don't know why they come into banks. Don't know. We receive payments from all over the world.
Right. He
Ask
says
somebody
that
else
you-
who's got a different account in another bank and pay them to pay for you.
Right, that's what I would suggest too. He mentions that you have to have an account with them for a minimum of 1 year. So he just has to find someone that's a friend that has an account for 1 year, I guess, and pay that way.
There's no problem. We see a lot of banks due to whatever reasons. At the moment, a lot of banks, they tell you there is a problem with the other banks, they can't do it. Because in fact, the World Bank has put restrictions on the bank itself to move because they're financially unstable. We see that a lot in Italy. In Italy, a large number of banks are in disaster condition, or bankruptcy, or just been floating with the back of the government. Any money going into them or out of them closed monitored very much by the government. And we even seen the transfers had to be authorized by the central bank. If the bank can receive the money, that the client receives it and doesn't disappear in the account of the bank bankruptcy.
I see there's two people that have mentioned in the chat that transferwise.com can be used to, instead of the bank, to make transfers and at a good rate as well. So that's transferwise, all one word, .com. I guess that'll help people if they get in trouble that way.
Yeah, but try what we say. Dubai is a safe place, and it's part of the equation of movement for the time we are here till everything settles, that we can move out regarding the movement of the earth. Till we don't see settlement, we will not move, because we are here to be there when it happens, to be able to support. But strange enough, if this movement happens, as I said, a lot of northwestern countries in Europe, like Belgium, Holland, especially England, will see the flooding we've seen a few years ago, decades ago, because there is a problem in that Strait of England. When the pressure comes on two sides, the English channels push the pressure back on the Thames River and into Holland. All the dikes will pop up. Yes, it'll be the same repetition. Even with the wall in the Thames, will not be able to hold the rise.
Okay, I think we could probably go on, Mr. Kesh. Tim asked, will the blueprints of the health unit be released today like the MAGRAV was? I guess
Yes, so we're going. As people show, it becomes a blueprint. This is how we organized it. As
Okay.
people show their system, this is how it's going to be. The blueprint is your development on the health. You have tested it with the people, you have developed it. So your agriculture, the same. You show us. I think, do we see Benjamin? Is he online? Has he managed to join us?
Mr.
Good
Kesh, may
morning.
I ask a question?
No, let us get Benjamin, because there's a weak points in the communication with Africa. If we have him, we'll better do the start of the teaching of the blueprint with the agriculture. We'll come to you. Please keep your position. We'll come to you when we finish.
Hello.
Benjamin, can you hear me?
Hello, sir. Yeah, I can
Morning.
hear you.
It's nice to hear your gorgeous voice. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Tell us what you've done and what you're going to show us.
Okay. We have something to show on agriculture, water treatment, and then something that I have done with the mushrooms, and then an aquarium tank that is under observation. So we have mainly 3 things to show today. So I will share my screen with.
If you don't lose the bandwidth, I know you send your documents to Vince. Rick has them. If you want, we show it from here. Tell us what you send us. We put up that it doesn't put pressure on your bandwidth.
Okay, but it's okay. I think we have a nice bandwidth here.
Okay,
So
carry on.
we can. Okay.
Is Dr. Nana from the Space Institute Ghana with you?
Yeah, Dr. Nana is sitting right here with me.
Good morning, Dr.
And
Ghana.
there's a
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Kesh, good morning. Yeah.
Nice to speak to you.
okay.
Yeah, nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully meet soon in Ghana.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Cash, Dr. Nana has managed to. Okay, okay, okay. I should go. Okay, there's a publication on the Cash Foundation in one of the monthly magazines here called Ghana, and Ghanaian scientists should use plasma technology for national development. That was an article that have been written by Dr. Nana, and she is telling the world about our technology, the Cash Foundation technology. I think I need to share my camera so that I can show it or start camera sharing.
Yes, we can see your. Please make sure you don't show us your page that doesn't show the programs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's okay now. He wants to show us the magazine.
The magazine. So we have a magazine called Ghana, and then there's an article written by Dr. Nana.
It's too close. Too close.
Too close, okay.
Yeah.
So
Oh, see the power unit and the CO2
power
unit.
unit, and then the plasma, and then Ghanaian scientists should use plasma technology for national development. That is an article in.
As I said, according to the report, most of the first world nations will be behind. They become a third world nation in what you achieve in African nations. Thank you very much. We can see it.
Thank you.
Let me explain. Benjamin is embedded in the Ghana Spaceship Institute in the final agreements which is getting signed, and the Keshe Foundation and the Spaceship Institute in Ghana's university and Atomic Energy Group will become part of the Development Research Center for Africa. We are financing the whole progress, and it's part of what you donate by buying tools from Keshe Foundation. Carry on, show us, please.
Okay, so I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, as we can see the
Okay.
full page with the mushrooms.
With mushroom. So we have on the screen now Keshe Foundation Agriculture present water treatment results experiment. And as you know, we are being hosted inside the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. So that is what we are doing now. Okay. Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about the geography of Ghana before we get into what we have to say, because then we can build it from there on. Okay. So this is the geography of Ghana. We have a total land area. The space, including water bodies, is approximately 293,460 kilometers square. And Ghana lies within the geographical coordinates of latitude 8 degrees and longitude 2 degrees west. And Ghana is a small nation, but we are blessed with a lot of mineral resources, which include gold, diamond, bauxite, manganese, silver, salt, limestone, and then hydropower, and also timber, rubber, and then lastly, we recently hit crude oil, so they are mining the crude oil also. And as you can see on the map, on the western side of Ghana, we share boundaries with Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire. And then on the northern side, we share boundary with Burkina Faso. And on the eastern side is Togo. And then we share boundary with the sea, that is the Gulf of Guinea or the Atlantic Ocean. So that is how Ghana is strategically or on the map on the African continent. That's where we are positioned. Okay. So we have a lot of river bodies in Ghana, as you can see on the map. This was taken from a map of the world with all thank for using their resources. All the rivers you see, mostly from starting from the Tain and Pra. Some of the spellings are wrong, but PR is not Pru, it's Pra. And then from that side to the Atlantic Ocean, most of the rivers are uh, polluted, are polluted with because of mining, gold mining, and people are looking for alluvial gold. Alluvial gold means they dig under the beds of the riverbed, and the way they are going about things is really an eyesore. And if you are in Ghana now, that is the theme here. Everybody is talking about the water pollution, and it's a huge problem here. Most of the places in Ghana don't have proper drinking water because of this menace, and people spend so much to buy water to drink. So I mean, it has come at the right time, and we are trying to do much more to get our acts together, right? Because I sent you an article, I think, some time ago about how the Ghana Water and Sewage Corporation is pumping a lot of millions of dollars into buying of equipment and chemicals for treatment, and they are complaining even that their machinery are running down because of silt, the trapping of silt in the rotating part of the machinery. So it's a big problem here. So I'm going to go on to tell you about the pollution of the water bodies in Ghana. We have two main, sources of water pollution, in Ghana: direct and then indirect pollution of the water body. Direct means, people pouring chemicals directly into these water bodies, and then people dumping the indirect pollution, dumping things on the ground, which eventually get seeped into the water bodies, and that is industrial pollution. And then waste dumping, people dump waste in the water bodies as well, and the illegal mining in the water bodies. This is a huge thing, and we will see as the slides goes on that I mean, it's a big problem here. And the types of pollutants we have include organic and then inorganic, radioactive and acid-based, pollution. So all this, is being thrown into our river bodies, and as if nobody, cares. And we are gradually seeing the effect now. This is from a picture from Joy News that I took. Before, on the before side, you can see that the river is very clear. And then afterwards, after the Galamsey, how the river look now. It's so muddy, and that is River Pra, one of the uh, rivers we treated and sent to the lab for analysis. Dr. Nash is here to explain the lab report himself. So when it's time, he will come and then take over. So now you can see now and before, it's very, very, what do you call it, muddy. Okay. And this is how the people go about, polluting our river. This is an artificial way of dredging. They have this man-made, or what do you call it, locally made kind of vessel on the river, and they have rods, deep rod, which rake, the bed of the river, and as it rake, the sediment is pumped into what with a big vibrating motor, what they call the chamfang or champagne. The local villagers call it, the local people call it champagne, and they, what do you call it, win the gold from this artwork. So that is exactly what dredging means. It's a process of removing sediments and debris from the bottom of water, like lakes, river, dams. And this is very important because most waterways are blocked. So now it is, the waterways is not blocked, but they are using the same technology that is used in opening the dams to rake the riverbeds, and in so doing, they add other harmful chemicals like cyanide, mercury, arsenic, to the water, to go about the activity. So it end up eventually poisoning. Their main aim is to get this. What you see, that is a core of good, which Mr. Kesh has shown us how simple it is even to produce it in your own kitchen. If you know what to do. Okay, so that is another stage of how they go about the illegal mining. They pour after collecting or milling. They pour this muddy water, and then it runs through this conveyor belt, and they what do you call it? Collect the clay, and then also undergoes another process. This is another picture which I got, and you can see them when we travel to the eastern region to collect the Brim River. We saw a lot. I mean, you could even hear on the riverside these people with their boat, their dredging machine on the river, and they don't care. They don't care about anybody, and the people have to buy a lot of what do you call it, water to feed. They cannot even fish from the river and drink from the river. So the effect in the nutshell, this source of pollution give us dangerous ramifications. It we end up getting poisonous drinking water and destruction of food chain. That means when the pollutant gets into the soil, it end up being affected. So let me take fish for instance. The fish end up becoming extinct, and when man cannot feed on it, he also gradually extinct. He become extinct himself, through the process of pollution, and then it have negative impact on the ecology. Most trees at the river banks are dying. In those days when you get to bring one fisherman I met at the banks was telling us how bushy the place used to be, and so on. So we can see that it also have impact on the ecology, and then it has drastic or catastrophic weather patterns. So that is another effect. And then, as I said, extinction of aquatic life forms. I asked him, so how do you live? The fisherman at the riverside, he said the fishes are gone, so it's very difficult now. You have to uh, go upstream to get this aquatic life form to feed on. uh, and then we also have seen, or it's in the news, that there are a lot of waterborne diseases in these areas, and cancers. Different types of cancers are common in this area. Borrelii ulcer, and now a lot of diseases are springing up because of the pollution or the contamination in these river bodies. And in the end, we get a high economic cost in water treatment. That means, like I said before, the Waterworks Corporation or the Ghana and Sewage Corporation have to spend a huge sum of money in purchase of machinery and equipment. So that is having a negative impact on the economy also. We can go on to say more and more. In the end, we can see it can also have negative effect on human and animal reproduction cycle because of the mercury. You can say I'm not drinking from the water, and you can buy treated water, but you still feed from the land, which um, at the same time, you eat from the polluted soil, so you will have the consequence at the same time, and so on. Okay, I don't want to go political. Okay, so there are other sources apart from this pollution. Also, there are people who deliberately pollute these waters. Like as you can see in the picture, this a man who has slaughtered a goat, and he's washing, the blood and everything in the goat in the river body. So I mean, this can generate what do you call it, biofecal content and E. coli in the river bodies as well. Because I will show you another picture whereby this guy is still washing the internal part of the animal inside the river body. So now you see is there. He's washing, as you can see, he's washing the inner part of the animal in the river body. This is man-made pollution. And another picture, this is a journalist covering the whole activity, and you can see him pointing in that direction. They are washing the internal part into this river body. So in the end, we have come to when I came around, I saw that it was a huge problem. So one day I went to the office of Dr. Nana, and we sat down, and then we said we can do something about it, but I need some quantity of water, this polluted water, to start with. So we got some samples from Brim. We got some samples from River Pra, and then of Fin, and we started the treatment. So we started using GANS. For those of you who are here today who are new to our technology, GANS is simply a new state of matter, which is gas in atomic nanostate, or GANS for short. And it was introduced by the speaker you heard earlier, my boss, MT Kesh. And this new state of matter has different characteristics which give engineers and scientists the ability to do many things. GANs are atomic plasma, and they have both gravitational and magnetic field. If you were here during my lecture here, you will know what I mean by gravitational and magnetic field. And through this, we can do a lot of things, in the improvement of in the treatment of water and other things in the area of agriculture. So as you can see, the first picture is CO2, and then I know many of you know, but for the sake of people who are in, we just show. And this is copper oxide and then CH3. I have them sitting right in front of me here. So it can go around. For those who have not seen it before, you can pass it around, and then we go on those who are here. Okay, so I'm rushing through to finish. Okay, so in preparation to treat this polluted water, we have so far done different configurations, in the treatment of these polluted waters. And the one we did on PRA, we used the CO2 and the copper oxide. So in a nutshell, these are things that will be needed for your treatment. If somebody want to replicate it, we need a contaminated water, we need containers, and then we need a measuring flask or a beaker, and then we need the material, the GANs, the CO2 or the copper oxide, in a liquid form or in a powder form. And then if you want to go extra, you can use another form of configuration, that is the nanowire, which I'll later show you also. And then you always protect yourself, because you don't know what is inside the water, and we need syringes, the normal medical syringes, to pull our gases. So these are in effect what you need. And in this experiment, we divide, in order to check what is happening in the treated and untreated water, we divide it into two groups. So we have the control group, and then we have the treatment group. And for those of you who are not chemistry inclined or science inclined, I have defined what control group is. It's used as a baseline measure. That means you put it there to check what is happening in your treatment. The content of the control container is identical to all other containers, with the exception that it does not receive the treatment or the experimental manipulation that the treatment container undergoes. Okay, so that is it. And then we have the treatment group. The treatment group is a container which undergoes the manipulation or the treatment process. So that is the treatment group, and then the control group. So these are initially the samples that we had initially, and from River Pra, and then River Offin. It's not the Germans. If a German is there, it's not Offin. It's Offin. Okay. And
Let
then
me explain
this
what you know the German. Just wait. Give me a rest
Off,
to
okay.
catch up.
Often in but in German, often is E. It's not I. Often is to open.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let
So
me explain that people know. They know you as Benjamin only.
okay.
Let me explain. We should have done that at the beginning. That's why he goes back to German language.
Mm.
Benjamin
Mm.
is BSc graduate from Ghana University.
No,
Is it like
MSc.
MSc you received from? Can you explain to us your background?
I studied in Germany initially at the University of Applied Sciences there, and then I moved there to Germany, Austria, to do my master's in information technology management at the University of Applied Sciences, Wiener Neustadt. That is where I got my master's from. And then initially, I was trying to get myself into IEA to work with the IEA because of my interest in atomic physics or nuclear physics. So I applied there, and I was one of the two candidates selected. But politics stepped in, so I have to wait for about 8 months, and there was no reply. Finally, the reply came, and then Mr. Kesh also came and said, I want to work for me. So I just picked the opportunity to, come to Ghana and then work for Kesh Foundation. So that is in a nutshell, a small background
But
of
you
Benjamin.
are originally got your degree from Ghana.
Yeah, originally a degree from Ghana before I came to Germany, and then from Germany I went to uh,
Austria.
Austria. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
that
people
is
know you're a highly qualified person to do this job, and
yes.
that's why
Okay.
you present the technology so beautifully. He is born and bred in Ghana, and he's gone back home to serve his nation. This is what we do in Keshe Foundation. We see now the next presentation the same with Kenya, and we've seen with Alex with Nigeria, and we have a gentleman which goes back, highly educated, back to Kenya in the coming time. Thank you very much. Carry on.
Okay. Okay. So in the treatment steps, we both the control treatment container were rinsed initially with about 25 ml of the polluted water to set them, because a scientist will question you, did you set them at the same time? So we set it. We set the both containers which we are going to use for the treatment. We cleanse it with about 25 ml of the polluted water to set it off. Okay. And so after we rinse it, meaning we pour the water away after shaking it or agitating the bottles, we pour them away. Okay. And then we measured equal amount of the polluted water in both containers. Okay. And then the control container was closed, and then we put labels on. We labeled it, the name of the river, the date, and then the time of the experiment, so that we can actually do statistics and graphing on it when the times come to show the impact and what we found in the water and so on. So after that, we introduce 7 ml of GANs into the treatment container. Okay, so that is what we did. And then we left it off. That is immediately after the application of the GANs, in the so A is the treatment, as you can see on the screen. A is the treatment container, and B is the control. And we bought these special glasses because we want to identify them it's color coded. So one is green, and then the other is pink, orange color, so that we can easily also label them. Or it's good for write up also when you are writing something also on it. And then after this is the treatment. After 24 hours, we can see that the water have sedimented, and the upper part is more clearer, than the control. The control still remain almost the same, although there are sediments. It's still, the turbidity. Turbidity is, to explain to the layman the clarity of the water, the suspended particles in the water. If you shine a light through it, how it can get to the other side. So you can see that the water is more clearer than the one that we are under treatment. Okay, so that is it. And then this is the CO2 treatment. Let's see the copper oxide. The copper oxide look more clearer, and each and every time it gave me a clearer, what do you call it, turbidity. And then the springs as well, but I don't have the springs to show today. But on the table, or what we may show live how the whole thing is done is also, we have also some springs, the nanowires treatment also to show if time permits us. Okay, and so I leave the report now for Dr. Nash to come and then take over.
I think we lost broadcaster. We still have the
Stay
screen.
online. Stay online. Don't move. Let them come back. Stay online. This is the report we seen a couple of days ago sent to us. We have a copy of it here in case anything happens. But Dr. Ghana of the Space Institute with the National Nuclear Research Institute of Ghana. Yeah. So as we see, we wait for them to come back, or when they come back, we bring them back on. We were expecting problems in communication with Ghana. So as you've seen, the test is done under very scientific condition in the laboratories of Atomic Energy Authority of the Ghana, and we see the same kind of collaboration and cooperation with different governments now, with different part of the Keshe Foundations worldwide. This is what we emphasize on. We invest heavily in Africa. Is he there?
Yeah, I'm back, please.
Okay, carry on. Show us. You've just seen the report.
Yeah, on the Can you see now? Yeah. Yeah, so with the full water quality treatment, we did.
Who's speaking, please? I think the speaker has changed.
Nash.
Dr. Nash.
Nash.
Yes, hello, Dr. Nash.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the water quality test, we did physical.
We need a screen share on the document, please. Hello. Hello. I think yes, but they have set up a presentation PowerPoint. We have to follow theirs. We don't have the PowerPoint presentation, do we?
Is that the, I've got two things. That's the PRA and OFN test results, I guess. I can share that.
Benjamin, if you are there, you don't need to share screen. You can go on the voice only.
Okay, voice on.
We have your documents. We can show it that it doesn't put pressure on the bandwidth.
Is that what we're
Yeah,
after?
so
Yes, we got
So
your
back-
report. Dr. Nash, you can speak here, please. We have the results on the screen.
yeah. So with the water sample analysis, we did the physical parameters, nutrients, and then we did trace metals. For the physical parameters, we did pH, temperature, conductivity, total dissolved solids, total suspended solids, alkalinity, turbidity, salinity, apparent color, and true color. We compared it with WHO and then Ghana Standard Authority guidelines for drinking water. For example, the Ofin River treated the pH was 7.27. Then the Ofin control, so 7.62. Then with the PRA treated, it's 7.73. And then the control, 7.55. So when we compared it with the guideline values for drinking water, WHO and Ghana Standard Authority, we have, it's between 6.5 to 8.5. And then for Ghana Standard Authority, it's 6.0 to 8.5. So we compared the values that we got from the analysis with that of WHO and then Ghana Standard Authority. The conductivity, which is in microsiemens per centimeter, for the Ofin treated, we got 357.5. Whilst the control, we got 268.5. Then for the PRA treated, we got 2,325. And then the control is 178.2. The range, according to WHO, is 500 to 700 microsiemens per centimeter. Then it follows suit with the total dissolved solids, also in milligrams per liter. The Ofin treated, it's 179.3, whilst the control is 134.65. For PRA treated, it's 1,164.45. Then the control is 88.9. The range, according to WHO and Ghana Standard Authority, is 1,000. Then the total suspended solids, the Ofin treated is 210, the control is 35. Whilst the PRA treated is 230, the control is 5. And then the guideline is 5. For alkalinity, the Ofin treated is 45, the control is 75. And then the PRA is 65 for the treated, and the control is 105. The range is 200, according to WHO and Ghana Standard Authority. The turbidity, also in formazine attenuation unit, it's 200 for the Ofin treated, then 32 for Ofin control. Then the PRA treated is 226, the control is 4. The range, according to WHO and Ghana Standard Authority, is 5. Then we come to salinity, which is in parts per trillion. Ofin is 0.2, the control is 0.1. The PRA treated is 1.1, then the control is 0.1. We do not have the WHO and Ghana Standard Authority's levels at the moment. Then the apparent color, which is also measured in platinum cobalt unit, is the apparent color is the color of the water as it was presented to the lab. Then the true color is after it has been filtered through 0.45 millimeters Wattman filter paper. So the apparent color is 220 for the Ofin treated, and then the Ofin control is 20. For PRA is 50, and then the control is 1. The guideline values is 25, and then 200. So when we come to the true color, which has been filtered from 220 as apparent, the true color came down to 15. and then the offend control also dropped to 3. Then the prior treated from 50, it dropped to 5, whilst the control from 1 dropped to 0. Then for the nutrient analysis, we did fluoride, chloride, sodium, potassium, total hardness, nitrate, phosphate, and then sulfate. They are all in the milligram per liter unit. The fluoride for the offend treated is 0.015. The control is 0.011, whilst the prior is 0.0051. Sorry. And then the control is 0.013. The guideline values is 1.5 according to WHO, and then Ghana Standard Authority is 1.0 to 1.5. Then for chloride, the offend treated we had 9.99, while the control is 48.98. Then the prior treated we had 596.81, whilst the control is 228.99. The guideline values is from 250 to 1000. Then the sodium for the offend treated is 13.2. The control is 17.9. The prior treated is 85.7, whilst the control is 16.8. The guideline values is 200. Then potassium, the offend treated is 1.5, the control is 2.5, the prior treated is 6.5, whilst the prior control is 1.0. The WHO guideline is 30. Then the total hardness for offend treated is 52, offend control is 65. Then the prior treated is 48, whilst the prior control is 53. The WHO and Ghana Standard Authority guideline level is 500. Then we come to nitrates as N. Also in milligram per liter, it's 0 for offend treated is 0.406, while offend control is 0.318. The prior treated is 0.002, whilst the control is 2.066. The levels is between 10 and 45. Then phosphate, it's 0.034 for offend treated. Then offend control is 0.683. The prior treated is 0.012. The control for prior is 0.218. We do not have the both WHO and Ghana Standard Authority levels as at now. Then for sulfate, we have 2.5101 for offend treated. Then the offend control is 2.0089. The prior treated is 0.014, whilst the control is 1.021. The guideline values is from 250 to 500. Then we did trace metals. For the trace metal, we did total iron, total manganese, total copper, and total zinc using the atomic absorption spectrometer, that is the AAS. They are also in milligram per liter. For offend treated, we had for iron 0.217 for the treated, and then the offend control is 0.420. The prior treated is 0.203, whilst the prior control is 0.501. The guideline value is 0.3. Then manganese, it's 0.010 for offend treated, then 0.031 for the control, whilst prior treated is 0.027 with its control 0.040. The guideline value is 0.5. Copper, it's less than 0.003, that is below the detection limit of copper using the AAS for treated offend, both the treated offering and then offering control. For prior treated, it's also below the detection limit, which is 0.003. For both treated and control, the WHO value is 1.0. Then we come to total zinc. Zinc offering treated is 0.039, then its control is 0.077. Then prior treated is 0.031, then prior control is 0.072. The guideline value is 3. So these are the analytical reports for the samples received both from the Offin River and Pra River.
Thank
Hello.
you very much, Dr. Nash.
So, in effect, we have not really completed with our findings. It's an ongoing thing, and we still need to refine our way because there are other things to do, like to beat down the salinity level, because the salinity level has also influenced the total suspended liquid and then total dissolved solid. So we are trying to do more to refine the way to beat down these levels. But according to Nash, Dr. Nash in the lab, he told me this can be taken, or it can be used, because most of the wells that are dug even does not pass even this what do you call it, this test. So
What does it? Can you explain to us, or let Dr. Nash explain to us?
okay.
What has it changed? We need, it's all data. They are experts. Can we understand what has changed in the water? What is the condition of the water? Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
Dr.
Yeah,
Nash, can you enlighten us with your knowledge that what is added? What is changed? Is the water has changed for consumption? Is the water what need to be done? And then we will take it to the next step.
Yeah. In summary, with the water, the treated, there has been an improvement in the treatment done on the untreated water, which is the control, except the salinity level, which is especially for the prior treated water, which is 1.1. And that's on the higher side, according to the previous analysis that we've done with.
Okay, can I ask you 2 questions? Because the GANS comes through the salt water, created through the use of salt water. Was the water washed thoroughly? The GANS was washed thoroughly before you added to it?
No, Mr. Kesh, the GANS was not totally, washed. What I have also discovered.
Can you, excuse me, Benjamin, can you explain to us what was the condition of the water GANS you used for that test experiment?
Okay, it was taken directly from the setup, the GANS setup. So
did you wash it with the distilled water? Was it washed?
It was not washed because at that time I didn't have distilled water, and I didn't also want to use the tap water because the tap water have traces of minerals in it, and I don't want to influence the output.
So, Dr. Nash, the salinity can be explained because we use salt water to produce the GANS material. Putting that aside, is this water drinkable? Is this water usable? Or what does it need to be done for it to become usable?
Yeah, it can be used, except the color which needs to be filtered. Because when you look at the apparent color, it's 220 which is far above the recommended guideline value. So if the water can be filtered, then it can. Even with the offin treated, after the filtration, it's still 15, which is more than the guideline values, which is 5. So it means it needs to go through further filtration before it can, at least if it is below 5.
Can I ask you a question? Because I had this the same with another test trial. Did you take the water from the top separating the residual, or did you test it with the residual in the container?
Yeah, in the container, we took from the top. That is clear. That's with the treated sample. We took from the top.
So there were no residual in it?
No, they are not.
Can you explain to us? Can you explain to us why then we see a clear bottle on the left, but what do you call it? But the river untreated is still so muddy. What's the why do we see it? But in the apparent color and the true color, we don't see it in the test result.
Yeah, with the you realize that the apparent color, the values are quite high. But with the true color, which after the filtration, the value drops, especially for the Offin River, which is for the apparent is 220, then it dropped to 15, which means there's still room for improvement.
Can I ask you another question? Why do we see, this is something I would like to know, because it helps the other authorities who use this or they're going to consider to use it. Why do we see a higher apparent color after treatment, but we see a clarity in the water after the treatment?
The clarity of color after the treatment.
Yeah,
Yes,
when you look at the two bottles, one
Yeah.
which is not treated, it's a clear water we see, but on the right side, when it's not treated, it's still yellowish, orangish color. But when you do your test, the result shows totally different. This is what I wanted to know. How come the water is clear in the bottle after treatment, but when you do the test analysis, the color looks to be more muddier or not clear as it shows in the container? Because the visual observation does not comply with the data on the paper. Visually, we see, because I look at your turbidity as well, it's 232, 226 and 4. But when we look at the bottles in front of us in the test cases, the water is very clear. And the other water from the river untreated is not very clear. But when you show us the data, the two data does not match with the visual observation, where it says apparent color is 220. You have to filter it to get it better. Where in a para control was 1, now is 0, and then the other one is 50, becomes 5.
What does it actually mean, apparent color and true color? Maybe it means something different.
Yeah, the apparent color is the color of the water as presented to the lab. That is before filtration. And then the true color is after the filtration.
Yes, I understand that, but what doesn't come to visual observation, the color of the water is very clear. We see it in the bottle.
Yeah, in the green
in the green one. But when you test it, it doesn't confirm that. Why?
That was.
Is it the possibility that the figures have been misplaced?
The treated. Yes, we have to do it. Look at the treated should rather be 20, and then the control is okay.
The figures with the visual observation don't add up.
Yeah.
I think in this process, figures are typed in the wrong column, if I'm correct, or you have to enlighten us.
Yeah. So we will have to do further test on it. It looks like the topographical something. It should be 220. It should be 20, and then the control should be 220.
And then 50 and 1 should be in the same position.
Yes.
Yeah. So it shows a huge difference.
It should.
And then,
yes.
And then we see with the tunability the same. Where it was 200, now it's 32. Where it was 226, now it's 4. This brings a lot of things in line. Is it possible that you could check the data and come back to us in next week or two?
Yeah, sure.
Some further test and you have the data correctly. What if you put those in line correctly? Would this show us that would you drink this water after treated?
Yeah, after treated, it is. After treated, it can be drinkable. Yeah, it's drinkable.
So,
okay. Mr. Kesh, I have a fundamental question, and I mean, it's not to me to judge the testing procedures or the results or whatever, but I have the question to the guideline values for drinking water, since the Ghana values follow obviously the usual WHO values. I'm not about to judge the conduct, as we know from your own experiences, Mr. Kesh, about, you know, the activity.
No, we're not going that way.
No. But I have a fundamental question about the values, because I know from the internal documents of the tobacco industry, when it comes to ISO norms or ISO values, usually 80% of the people who make the parameters and the norms are from the tobacco industry. So who are these people who make the values?
No, we don't question. We are not. I know you're a doctor in that way, K1. Yeah, I know you understand this, but we don't question the authorities. We question our own technique and technology. We are setting new standards.
Okay, but it's drinking water. So
it's drinking. This is all it matters. We are not here to question WHO or anybody else. We are here to look at the data we have, and does the technology works for water treatment? This is very important to us. And what I see, we have experts. We have Dr. Nash, we have Dr. Nana, we have a scientific-based man, Benjamin, all highly qualified people within the National Nuclear Research Institute of Ghana. What we want to know, putting those entries correctly and checking the data, would you come back to us and we look at the correct entry? It could be the secretary doing the thing because he was in a rush to be done. And then what it looks to me, everything seems to be in the right order, and where, unless we see a changes like this, you can pick up because visualization is there. It's a beautiful job what you've done there in Ghana. I thank you fantastically for what you achieved. But what can we do with these sediments? What's your opinion, Dr. Nash or Dr. Nada? Can we use these sediments, what we have collected, because they haven't disappeared? You're testing the upper level water, as I asked you, said you've done.
Yeah.
You have a residual. Now we have these minerals in this residual. Can we? Yes, can you carry on?
What we intend doing is we will analyze the sediment separately. But we will analyze for trace elements and then heavy metals. That is the toxic ones like mercury, lead, nickel. Then the essential ones like iron, manganese, copper, and zinc. Solely on the sediments. And then by next week, as we meet again, we will also have a look at the findings from analyzing the sediments.
Yeah, I think
then we can know what it will be used for.
Can I ask a question? There are ways to extract these minerals which are collected in the sediment to utilize for national, what they call assets. We can show you and the Atomic Energy Authority how to separate like iron or copper or zinc or even gold. If you can measure the gold content in these sediments, that it can be added to the national reserve, because this, when you do it in a larger scale, we're not talking about grams, we're talking about kilos and tons over every year of operation. So the system is pays for itself. This is what we did with Fukushima, with the Japanese government, with TEPCO. We show them how to convert the what I call the tritium into gold within their tanks. Then what our purpose is not only cleaning, but making what is cleaned off not to become a problem for another thing. We solve all the problem in one go. So the way what I see, maybe it's a good process to be done for Atomic Energy Authority, is once you cleaned up the sediment, if you can separate the residue of the mineral, which all can be sold. Iron is a quality value merchant, magnesium the same, copper and zinc the same, then we can recycle the CO2 or a copper oxide back into the process. You don't need to keep on making it. So these are the things which in overall run, which have to see that it makes the system self-sufficient. In what you clean, you clear a lot of materials from the water of the rivers, which becomes a national asset. This is what I would like to see, if we can look in that direction with the head of Atomic Energy Authority in your country, that then this gives the money for the institute to be able to develop their own technologies. You don't need to wait for the handouts from other governments. If you can go in a little bit, spend another week or two on this and analyze all the materials, we guide you. I can give you all my time. I can fly to Ghana, stay with you a few weeks till we get this done. But at the end, you are a rich nation. And Atomic Energy Authority or the Nuclear Research Institute will clear the rivers and makes an income for the institute to have money to invest in the research and new scientists. This is what the purpose is. Okay, we got a clean water. We can consume it.
Great.
Pardon?
Okay, I'm saying that's a great idea.
Yes, this is how I went with TEPCO. And when TEPCO made a lot of money out of it, they started draining gold. They kicked our guys out because they thought they're independent. But in other words, you have if these people are searching for gold and doing the dredging to do the gold, there must be a huge amount of gold floating in this water. If you can test for the water content, if you can test for clarity and gold and silver content in your test for next week or the week after, and then we go through the process of separation. It's very easy to separate most of these from the GANs, and you refeed back the GANs into the system. But the beauty of it is the water is clean enough to drink, according to your opinion.
Okay.
Am I correct?
Yeah, you are. You are. That's correct.
Okay, I would like to thank you for your collaboration. And as we said, we are prepared to invest in Ghana Keshe Foundation in conjunction with the Space Institute of Ghana, as we are becoming part of the embedded in your organization. Keshe Foundation investment is open to Africa in every shape or form, and we have a trusted bond with you. And I will see a huge collaboration. This is a fantastic presentation. And I thank both you and Dr. Ghana and Benjamin and head of the Nuclear Research Institute of Ghana, Atomic Energy Commission.
Mr. Keshe, we have still more to show.
Pardon?
Thank
you
Thank you very much, Dr. Nash.
We have still more to show.
Okay,
And,
carry on. Carry on.
We need equipment also here, because most of the tests, takes a lot of time, and Dr. Nash can tell you I give him a lot of hell, so we need a lot of equipment here, and to test some of the next stage of what I'm going to show is the fish, the aquarium stuff.
Carry on. Rick, you got to let him to share his screen. You have to take the PDF down, please. You are controlling. Okay, share your screen, please, for us.
Can you see?
You haven't come up yet. We are waiting. It says you're sharing a screen. Hasn't started sharing a screen. You're waiting for you to come up.
I've shared it, so.
It says Benjamin Mensa has started sharing a screen, but we don't see a beautiful face.
You can try to stop it and do it again.
Stop it or do it again.
Okay, so I'm sharing again. Is it true?
No, it has not come in yet. It says you want to share. Yeah, we see a picture of a man and a woman. Is somebody else sharing somewhere in the background?
I don't think so, Mr. Kesh.
No. Vince, that's what we, yeah, it comes up. Vince, that's why I say we need our own satellite system in Africa. With our own connections. Let me, while Benjamin is online, while Benjamin is trying to get sorted this out, let me explain to you something which is very important. We would like to thank the American organization who has allowed us to place Benjamin within the structure of the Ghana Space Institute. This is part of the work we do with secret intelligence services and the others. And through their support, especially people we do not mention in the front, within the structure of the communication of the American government and industry, who have supported us to bring the position of Benjamin into Ghana. We collaborate again with them. They are part of the Keshe Foundation International Organization. And we thank them. They know who they are, not to disclose their names, for the facilitating for Benjamin to return as part of the Keshe Foundation into Ghana. We thank the organization like within the structure of CIA and the rest who we collaborate with very closely. We know who they are and they facilitate these things.
Can you see?
Thank you
Please,
very
can
much.
you see?
We
Can you see our screen?
Yes, we can. So this is by having Benjamin there is a collaboration of governments and people being in the government are part of it, and we use the governmental connection to facilitate this. And I thank our American support for this move. Go ahead, Benjamin. We see both fishes.
Okay, so we have two tanks here, the green tank and then the green tank and then the yellow tank. Actually, what I'm doing here is to do a lot of tests on the water and also the on also the what we get from the aquarium. So I have taken already samples to Dr. Nash's lab to do some tests on the water. Okay, if you can see, as you can see clearly, there are differences in the turbidity. One is more clearer, and then the other, which is not treated, is a little bit darker. That is the green tank. I don't.
What have you put in them?
We have two fishes in each tank, with other small ones also. So what we have in here is I have a filtering stage, and I have a submersible pump, and I have an aerator. That means they can, what do you call it? It takes air from outside and then convert it to the oxygen and carbon dioxide process, so that the fish can live on them. Okay, and I have in the tank also a natural and an artificial weed. The natural weed is also to do the same thing that the pumps are doing in case the power is taken off. That is a fail-in safe mechanism I put in the tanks, so that if the power goes off for a long time, like 2 days or 3 days, the fish can still use the natural system to take in air and then prepare food for themselves. So what you see here, if the camera can come a little bit further, which is not, can you? Okay, if you can see from the filtering chamber that the water which is not treated with the GANs is more dirty, you know. And I've taken a sample to Dr. Nash's lab, and it's the same thing. The water is more dirtier, okay, with the tank, untreated tank. But the one that is treated or fed with the CO2 has less pollution, or has less, what do you call it, sediment collection. And so what we are doing is we are also, I've given Dr. Nash some parameters to test, like the pH level, the ammonia level, the nitrate and the nitrate, copper, chlorine, and general hardness, and carbonate levels, and then phosphate, dissolved oxygen, iron, salinity, and then calcium. Because we don't have so much, what do you call it, equipment here, some of the tests, like I need electronic scale here, and I've told the guy who, you know, brought the fishes to me to bring me a pH meter, and he has not sold surface, but I'm still waiting for him to bring it. There are some tests I can do them myself at home, and to measure also the fish size, we need a laser tool, a kind of laser tool, to actually measure the length of the fish, and then the weight. That is what we are going to use the electronic scales to measure. So in effect, what I'm going to do is to fetch the fish in a container, and then first of all I'll fetch some water from the tank, and then zero it with the water on the scale. I will, you know, put it to 0. That is, I'll make it weightless, and then put the fish into the water, and then measure the weight of the fish. Okay. So
can I ask you a question? What
Yes,
are
sir.
you feeding? What have you used for the clear tank?
Okay, the clear pack I have used, the clear pack I'm using CO2 in combination with the food of the fish, but the
Please-
other one I feed.
Please do not use copper oxide as a mixture.
No copper oxide.
Yeah,
CO2,
okay.
CO2,
okay.
because copper oxide will finish them in no time. Okay, so I'm using this. I'm using this also to feed them, but the one which is not treated with the GANs, the CO2 GANs, does not. I give them less of this food, more of the food, and then the ones that are fed with the CO2 get just a little bit of a fraction, just a fraction of this feed. So, but when you look at the sizes, they are growing bigger and more aggressive, or more happier than, and they can sink deeper than the one that are not, the water that is not treated.
What do you mean?
Because
You're feeding the treated one more or less?
the treated one, I feed them less.
Okay.
I feed them less, but the ones that are not treated, I feed them more, but still, you know. And in terms of aggression and size, the treated ones are growing bigger. As the people who I constructed, Gilbert is here. Gilbert has seen them from the day we started, and they are growing well. So that is it. We have some more time to, you know, see how they fare. And also we have mushroom here, also to show. There are some mushroom experiments that.
Can you show us this famous mushroom? I've seen pictures, but I don't know what it means. You keep on sending me reports and pictures, but I don't know what is the mushroom. Tell us about the mushroom.
Okay. Can you see?
It says, why do you feed them less?
Why do I feed them less? Because we are feeding them with CO2, and CO2 even should be enough for them to live on, because
Yeah, I think if you feed them equal, then you see the effect of CO2, because now you're interfering with the food. I think you gotta feed them exactly the same to be correct, and then you see what the CO2 add to it.
Okay.
Okay. Carry on. Is that Dr. Nana hand showing everything?
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Dr. Nana. It's nice to meet you again. We met in Rome during the ambassador meeting. Thank you very much for your help and cooperation, Dr. Nana.
Okay, so I have here two boxes, but in each we have the mushroom composite bag. This is a composite.
Go a bit lower. Yeah.
This is the composite bag, and in the composite bag are the mushroom. How the mushroom is made? It's made out of sawdust and wheat brown, and I bought them. I think how many days ago? It's 2 weeks ago. Okay, and we started treating what do you call it? The mushroom with the guns. The first ones that I received are these ones. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually washed the mushroom, treated the CO2 guns. I actually took all the salinity from the guns out and then watered the composite bag, the first two with the CO2, and then in no time, about 2 or 3 days, the mushroom started sprouting. So that tells you the power of it, but the guns. And then the other one, I left it, the one that are coming up now. It have taken slow time to show up, and it's now coming up.
How old are the tests? How long is the test done? That one is just showing, and the other one has grown so much.
You say? Okay, 2 weeks. But what I'll do is I'm going to this one the same. I planted them the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take samples of this mushroom to Dr. Nash's lab, and then we see what is in the one that is watered with the guns, and then the one that is not watered with the guns, and then we see whether nutritionally we have improved upon that or not. And then based on that, we can do furthermore experiments with the growth. And one thing.
Okay, so the one which is grown over the box is grown at the same time, but you just put CO2 in the water.
Yeah, in the water. Okay. In the watering, what do you call it? Pot. So that
there's a question on the panel asking, how did you put the CO2 with a fish tank? Did you add it, or is it there just as a field?
So I have the guns. Okay, I have the guns in my hand, as you can see, and then a string. So what I do is I draw 1 mil of the guns and then drop it in the tank.
I think you can just put the container in the center without doing anything, and the fish will get the same. You don't need to add the guns into the water. Because you are dealing, you still work on the matter state thinking, you're adding it because you think it's going to take. Gas works on the plasma condition. So what I think you better do, put that CO2 container just in the water. The field of the plasma of the gas will go out, and I think it will have the same effect as you're putting in there. This way, you can feed the fish for hundreds of years. That way, you're going to run out and you have to make more.
Yeah. Okay, that is true. It was full, and I have been, filling it all the time.
Yeah, just put the container. You don't need. This is what you got to realize. Even the process of the cleaning of the water. Try to put the CO2 in a container and let the water inside the water, that you don't need to get don't need to add the GANs into the water, and see if you get the same results. I'm sure you get the same results of cleaning and everything else, because we have to change the mindset from the matter to interact than the interacting the fields. So if you put your CO2 bottle in there, you can leave the fishes. They go to it and you see they start eating from it. They nibble at it and the water continuously gets fed, because this way you have to keep on adding and adding, and that way they just take the fields. Most probably they stop eating. You got to observe how much of the food you give is going to stay at the bottom, because when the fish is not hungry, it won't eat. And if you clean up the bottom that there is no residual, then you can compare if the food still stays at the bottom, or would it rot, or would it just stay there as fresh, because the CO2 will do the job for it to clean it. So I think you better stop feeding them, just put a container in. And see if it doesn't change, or put another tank and try this. Carry on breathing, because now you get the CO2 in the process of the animal, where that way you get the energy but not the CO2 as part of its digestion system. You understand? And this is where the difference should come.
Okay, so I'll do that. I even was thinking of that the other time, because I bought some copper plates. I want to do the, what do you call it, put the plates inside and the zinc inside and see for it to start producing.
Do not put any copper in any of them. You will kill the fish.
The nano coated copper.
Nothing.
Okay.
You cannot introduce copper, especially in the white meat.
Okay.
If you introduce the copper into this environment, I'm sure, because I tell you from experience, your animal will die very quickly. Because the energy is too much, they cannot absorb it. The growth of the body in the white fish is different than the red fish and red meat, and then it can cause in the growth, and the expansion is not what it's looking for. You can't reach that growth. Do not use, never, especially with water animals, any. You can do it maybe with tuna only. But all the small fishes with the white, what we see, what we call the water fish, do not please feed any with CO2. We have seen them. The energy impact is too much and the animal dies.
Okay. Mr. Kesh, it seems they need the conference room for another.
Can I ask you a simple, quick question? Is the doctor with the stroke arm with you, or has he left?
He's here.
Can we see his arm? Is he driving?
No, he told me he's not driving now. That's what I said. I'll confirm. He told me he's not.
But
driving.
Is there any difference in his hand, or can he tell us what he's seen?
He doesn't want to.
Okay, let him speak. It doesn't matter. Do you see any? Good morning, doctor.
Hi. Good morning.
Hi. Do you see any changes in what you're doing there in regarding your stroke with your arm, please? Because I know you're doing something in the background.
A little bit.
How much? Can you pick the microphone a bit higher, please?
Well, I think maybe this is I can't tell, but it helped me. Yeah.
Okay, we keep an eye on you to see how far we can go, and I'll try to explain to Benjamin how to help you directly, because you can reverse most of it. Thank you very much, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, I know you got the hand over the room. I would like to thank Dr. Nash and. Pardon?
Dr. Nana want to say something finally.
Yes, Dr. Nana.
Yeah, Mr. Kesh, I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity, and we are still working on the paper documentation to formalize the whole process. But in the meantime, I would say we'll keep on with communication and we'll keep on with our initial testing. So
thank you very much, Dr. Ghana. I put it this way: if United Nations listens to you, we have to too. You're an influential person internationally, and we respect your work with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you indeed. We say goodbye to you, Benjamin, and thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
You have aged in 4 months a lot. It's a lot of work you're doing there.
And we have something on farming. We are going to show later. So later I will send you the information, and then we'll
join us next Thursday again if you can organize it, that you can show us the results on the papers.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. You see, the process is very simple. You can you stop sharing that we can take over, please? Thank you very much, Benjamin. As I said, it was fantastic to see this. This is a work of nearly 4 or 5 months of working, establishing, setting up, gaining the trust of the authorities to be able to do these kind of works. We'll see more and more of this cooperation. We saw on Tuesday with respect to universities, with the hospitals. Keshe Foundation worldwide is finding avenues by invitation of most of the governments or whatever to start working because they see the results. And I'm sure when we release the C certificated medical certification 2 of the pens and the pads by tomorrow, the first pads internationally made in Italy, and the pens will dispatch on Monday morning. Then we'll see the change in the course of, as we're seeing gradually, on what people start seeing and using and doing it themselves. Where do we go now? You are in charge, Rick. Where are you taking us?
Well,
I think that was a fantastic presentation.
It was very interesting.
We saw agriculture, decontamination, and
we've got there's a.
Can we go to Kenya's direction? Even do we have it ready, or?
I've got the PowerPoint presentation from.
Yeah, but is our presenter there available? Because he has to explain it. Is he still awake, or is it too late for him?
Trying to see here. Oh, there he is. Promote him to panelist.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Let me explain. Would you like to introduce yourself and share a screen? Please, before you share a screen, make sure what you're going to show us at PowerPoint is on your screen, that we don't see the programs in the background, please.
Or let me know if I need to share it.
Yeah, he's there. We can see him. Good morning. You have to unmute yourself.
Unmute? Oh, just a minute.
Yeah, it says,
there we go.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Dr. Gutamauga. Thank you very much for staying with us. And I know it's very late time here in the United States. Could you please introduce yourself first, who you are, your background, and then what you're doing and what you're going to show us, please.
My name is Gatua Bogwa. I'm from Kenya, and I'm in the US right now, where I have been since 1992. After studying in Kenya, I worked briefly for Kenya government and then a private sector in Kenya, and then returned to school in Kenya for 2 years, where I studied biointensive agriculture, which is an organic agriculture, for 2 years. And then I went to California, where I studied agroecology. I was an apprentice for 6 months, and then I decided I needed more than just a certificate, so I applied and was admitted to the University of California, Santa Cruz, where I did 2 first degrees, BA in Environmental Studies and Politics. And then I went to Cornell, where I did 2 master's degrees. First, a Master of Professional Studies in International Agriculture and Rural Development, and then a Master of Science in Crop and Soil Sciences. And then I was later admitted to University of Wyoming, where I did my PhD in agronomy. I have been teaching for that university on a part-time basis until last year, spring, and now I'm here as a student of the Spaceship Institute. I'm going to show a presentation, PowerPoint presentation about a brief experiment I did in Kenya, an agricultural experiment, farming with guns. Shall I start now?
Please, yes, please. Let me explain why you're showing this. As Dr. Kunta explained to us, he is a knowledge seeker in the Keshe Foundation Space Institute, started in January of this year. And in part of the teaching, he showed us his presentation. And as is agriculture today, I invited him to come and show us. And on the back of this, Dr. Mawab is going back to Kenya, sponsored and paid by the Keshe Foundation, to start the Keshe Foundation and the agriculture and the whole process in Nairobi. And I thank you for joining us, and I hope we learn a lot from you with your experience and background.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keshe.
Please go ahead.
Okay. A study was done in Kenya to assess the impact of CO2 guns water on growth and yields of potatoes in Kenya. This experiment was done between November 2005 and February this year. What you see here is a small plot that I used for the potatoes, and this was just about 20.
We have to have the screen share in order to see the picture on your PDF.
Please make sure, let me switch off first, bring the page up, and then switch back on sharing. Stop sharing that nobody can see your system. Okay.
Is that fine?
Yes, it's perfect. Now carry.
Good, great, thank you.
Oh, sure. Okay. I don't know what's happening here. All right, there it is. So this experiment is impact of CO2 guns water on growth and yields of potatoes in Kenya. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you. Here I am. This is the plot that I used. It's 20 feet by 15 feet. And this plot was divided into two plots, subplots, plot A and plot B. And potatoes were planted in both plots. The potato tubers was of the same variety, but what was different was the treatment. In one A plot, I used water treatment, and in B plot, I used CO2 GANS water. And GANS here is gases in nanostate. Potatoes in both plot A and plot B were soaked for 5 hours before planting, and that was the treatment. Soaking in water for A and soaking in CO2 GANS water in plot B. This is how I collected the GANS. To the right here, this was how I collected CO2 GANS using simple method, mesh wire. Because I couldn't find zinc plates, I used a mesh wire, chicken wire, which was galvanized, and a nano-coated coil, copper coil that I made. On the left, I used a simple nail and a nano-coated copper coil for collecting CH3 GANS. And these are the GANS that I collected, some of the GANS that I collected in the beginning of the experiment, but I collected more later. And for the purposes of this experiment, only CO2 guns were used. This is how I soaked in plastic containers. To the left, that's water, and this is rainwater, by the way, in both cases. And to the right is CO2 guns water. What was noticed here immediately was that the water to the left, which is dirty because the potatoes tubers had soil on them, but immediately when I put them in CO2 guns water, the soil sank to the bottom, thus showing the efficacy of CO2 guns for purification of water. That was a bonus for this experiment, as I was not testing the water purification. So I don't know whether you can see the titles because I can't, but this is 3 weeks after planting. There was no difference noticed between plot A and plot B. But here, this is flowering stage, and at flowering stage, what was noticed here was that, although it's not obvious in this picture, but the potatoes on the right, that is to say, the potatoes treated with guns water, flowered, had flowers before those treated with water. And that was substantial, the difference. And this is at maturity stage. The differences in growth was now so obvious because those treated with CO2 guns water matured early. And you can see that when potatoes mature, they wither, and to the right, they withered and dried, almost dried before those treated with water, which are still green. And at this stage, that's when we harvested, they were harvested, and both plots were harvested individually, the potatoes collected, counted, and then weighed. What was noticed was that most of the plants had about 3 or 4 tubers, big ones, and then a lot of small ones, several small ones. And for the purposes of this experiment, both the big tubers and the small ones were harvested, counted, and then weighed. Results. Treatment A, that is to say, potatoes that were treated with water, 217 potatoes were harvested from that plot, with a total weight of 7 kilograms. Weight per potato, when you divide the 7 kilograms divided by the potatoes, 217, you got about 32 grams, 0.03225 kilograms. That is just 32 grams. In plot treated with CO2 guns water, 147 potatoes were harvested with a total weight of 4.75 kilograms. When you do the same maths, dividing the total weight by the number of potatoes, we got the weight of potatoes to be the same as in plot A. That is to say, about 32 grams. That was significant in that these results show that even the potatoes that matured earlier by 2 weeks had matured enough to be of the same weight. Now, potatoes treated with guns water in plot B matured approximately 2 weeks earlier than those treated with water in plot A. There was no weight difference per potato in both plots. This is a good result as far as I'm concerned, because it shows first that maturity of plot B was faster. That means you could grow a crop in Kenya between seasons, like a short season between the main two seasons. You grow potatoes and harvest them in good time to plant the next crop. Also, this can be very important in terms of agriculture elsewhere in regions that have very short seasons, growing seasons or cropping seasons, especially in the Great Plains. Some of the places in the Great Plains have very short growing season because the winters go all the way sometimes to June. And to summarize, Gans water likely caused early potato maturing in plot B. And potatoes in Kenya vote yes for CO2 Gans, and I agree with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mabuga. Can you, as an economist, if you look at this, we got a picture of the potatoes next to each other. We see on the right, even though you have a smaller numbers, but you have more of the size which is usable than the small ones on the left.
Yes.
Agriculture, especially like if we see this is a trial, we can do it in a more larger scale, hopefully when you go back to Kenya. In the countries like US, in Texas, where there's the water, underground water is literally depleting and farmers are reducing production because of the water, lack of underwater tables. This can make a huge difference when you got hundreds of hectares or thousands of hectares on the cultivation. What is important, I think what we heard with Benjamin too, we got to test this to see if they have organically changed or is it still the same. And one thing we have to see is, are these potatoes were genetically modified before you planted them, or are they local potatoes?
These ones are local potatoes.
Okay. What we have seen with the systems which, let's say the seeds have been genetically modified, when you use a CO2 water GANs or the GANs directly to soak the material in, you will find out that the genetically modified structure by organizations who try to control the seeds, because the seed is not in its DNA, is on the surface of it, is new and is not part of its structure, it loses all the genetic modification. So we go back to the original seed. We go back to original growth. Well, it'll be interesting to see if you can grow genetically modified seeds, which is now prevalent everywhere, soak them in the CO2 water, and at the same time, then after an hour of soaking it, we draw them and cultivate them and see if they grow different than the others.
Oh, I definitely want to do that, and I look forward to doing that.
The other thing is, as you've seen, the Keshe Foundation Innovation Center will show you, we are producing copper pipes, which is nano-coated outside, for watering the potatoes, for example. You're watering the agricultural land, where when the fields interact with the water, they behave like a fertilizer. So it'll be interesting to see if the growth becomes more rapid, that if you don't just water them on their own, but you use water of the what you call water energized in a way of plasmatically, and you water them, maybe we get the bigger size as potatoes, because now you're just watering in natural water. So not only we put the seeds or the potatoes originally in the water of GANs, but we water them with a system where the GANs, the energy of it becomes part of the water itself, so it continues to get energized.
It'll be interesting to see if the size of potatoes grows or the season becomes shorter for the harvesting. With that, you can harvest maybe in a shorter time.
Yes, and I think that would be possibly most likely to happen because I only submerge them in water and CO2 guns on the day of planting. If I had watered them, let's say, for example, weekly, I am sure that other changes would have materialized.
Could you test that again when you go back to Kenya for us, please, or anybody else who's testing?
Oh, definitely. I'll test even harvesting period. I'll test many ways. Like I would test when, for example, bee matures. I would test both plots, and then I would have other plots in doubles. Then I would test when the others matured, like a plot, and a lot of differences. This has potential to bring out a lot of differences that are not so obvious now.
One thing is, yeah, carry on, please.
Say that again?
I said carry on, please. You were speaking.
No, I just finished. I said that we have seen just a few results, but others can materialize when I continue with this research. And of course, I'll not only test potatoes, I'll test the other crops too.
Thank you very much. Well, it'll be interesting to see if you can. We've seen a lot of report done by our people who support the Keshe Foundation in South America, reporting the same kind of thing. It's not the first time we see it. If you go on the Spanish-speaking part of the Keshe Foundation, you'll see them. They've done tests with chilies and other things, and they reported even putting the GANs in there. Well, it'll be interesting to see if when you water these plants and you spray with the same water on the leaves, this will create an environment that the pests cannot live in it. So it can be used not only as a fertilizer, but as a pesticide too.
Yes, yes.
This is what will be fundamentally important. Even in the water, in your potatoes, if you have all sorts of worms or whatever, how much of the harvest is lost because of the what they call subterranean animals in a way eating into it. So we think from our experiments in the past that once you've done this, because I've done exactly what you've done. I've done it about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And what is interesting is that what are called permafrost in the countries when there is a frost, we've seen it with the Chinese in the Chinese teachings. It will make the plant even frost resistant. We know this already from Chinese group of the Keshe Foundation when they showed us the Chinese cabbages before. So I'll be interested to see if the plant gets benefited both by the watering, and the same water can be creating a new environment that does not allow or does not require use of pesticides.
Yes.
What is interesting in our research in the past, and I'll see a lot of results coming from different parts of the world, is we don't go out to do what the present farming does. The present farming uses so much pesticide that it enters the cycle of the food itself in one way or another. Because when you use pesticide, it drops down on the floor when it gets washed by the rain or whatever, and it becomes part of the food chain in one way or another.
Yes.
This way, the food and the pesticide, and in a way, when you use a pesticide, you kill the animal. And it's not the way it works. We're changing the whole course. So the way we see the work of the CO2 or you can't even use CH3. You see a better result sometimes from the CH3. Energy conversion is much better. You change the environment that does not, animals don't want to live in it. You don't kill their life. You change the environment that the life which exists as a potato exists on its own merit. And
yes, and I have seen that actually because I don't use pesticides. I grow organic, and I have seen that when there is vigorous growth, pests do not necessarily like plants that are very healthy.
Yeah, it's a way when a plant plants create a gravitational magnetic field which is tuned to the need of the energy of the pest. That's why they come to it. When you energize a plant, a shrub or a tree or whatever,
yes,
you give it an environment of that it does not suit the pest. So with this technology, we don't need any pesticides. We are done with. And we need to understand that you have to keep on. It's not that you just use pesticide once and it's gone and you do it second time. With this, as you water every day, you can put the energized system with the GANs in it, that the water creates a continuous environment that is not suiting. This is important, I think, and we should consider it and monitor it, that we can change this back to the African nations where, as you said, in the countries especially like what we see in Sub-Sahara, the water is short. So if we can create by watering gas, just the same copper tubes you see behind you, copper wires, make it a copper tube that the water goes through it. And you can show us that the growth becomes to, let's say, 4 weeks, you get what you have, instead of 8 weeks or 10 weeks. In the places like we've seen with the hunger and everything else, the growth can be very short, the harvest is not lost, and you don't need that much water.
Yes, I agree. And of course, I also, as I said, I'm organic, so I never use pesticides in the first place.
So if we can use and see the effect of it as a pesticide, even if our Chinese community who's listening can do such a test for us, because they're very good in testing things in their field, or other countries, we can change the course of all the chemicals which is going into our food chain. Because you don't add, you just change the environment which the pest does not need to live without any affecting the food itself.
I agree.
That's fantastic. So we hopefully thank you very much for your participation. And as I said, Dr. Mugawa, we welcome you to the Keshe Foundation as you are heading to Kenya to head the Keshe Foundation Kenya for us. And the Keshe Foundation makes everything possible in creating a agricultural environment, and whatever you decide to do as a scientist, we support you and we finance it through the Keshe Foundation.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope you don't forget to stay a student, because we need your knowledge.
Oh no, I don't. I would forget.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sure. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you indeed. Can we share?
I will stop mine.
Stop sharing that we can take to the next teaching. More, please. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Now, Rick, what's the next surprise for us?
Well, we do. We might have something from David Contreras. David, could you speak and see what you have? Maybe an update on your farming situation. I'll unmute you and see if you can speak there.
Okay. David Contreras is coming from Brazil.
Are you from Mexico or Brazil?
No, Mexico. From
Mexico, yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay, can you hear me well?
Yes. Very well.
Okay.
Too well.
Well, okay, I want to apologize first for, being a little behind right now with all these experiments. The farm had me taking a lot of my time here for the cycle, where at this point I'm growing the wheat as we, I wanted to do this year for organic wheat. And I wanted to do first a little report of what happened in last year with my corn. It really was a success in what I did, but I did. Yes?
Excuse me, David, do you have anything visual we can put on the screen?
I sent you a lot of pictures. I sent you a lot of pictures to Webmaster. Can you have access to those ones? from the unit prototypes units that I'm using for my wheat this cycle. I
Vince,
sent
are you there?
a lot of the pictures for
Yeah,
you.
I don't get them at Webmaster, so you're not sending them to me. You're be sending them to Vince, and he has a very heavy load there at Webmaster.
Okay, because
just wait a second, please. Let him find it. Vince, you better show the pictures. Don't sending them to Rick to show them.
All right, what happened, I crashed a couple of my systems where I have a lot of really interested information for last year. One of my Macs got crashed and everything went to the hard drive and I wasn't able to recoup a lot of the information. But I do have a lot of stuff going on over there right now with the farm. And
When did your system crash?
Like 2 months ago, the thing crashed, and I couldn't recoup a lot of the info. And I did have some backups of those of my videos of my corn. And that's, I kept sending some pictures before you of the different corns that I adapted. And I did have almost 7 varieties of corn that I harvest. And I'm ready for this cycle to repeat the growth. I'm preparing the land right now for the color. I call the color corn because these are color varieties that I did on the springtime in my first phase last year, and now I want to repeat the experiment to see if what I saw last year repeats this time, because there were some things, as I wrote to you, Mr. Kesh, about the corn producing corns on the male flower on top, something that I never saw it, Even the corn was producing grains in the male flower. It wasn't producing the corn in the center as they usually do. And I observed these anomalies, and I took the pictures. Those are the pictures that I lost from my stuff that I'm recouping, but I can show you the corn hanging from the male flower on top of the corn. And
but can you let's go back step by step. You did this, and what did you use? Did you use the CO2 cans? What was the process you used last year?
Yes, that was my third phase of the corn. At this time, I set the conditions to use a lot of CO2, and also I use around the plot the same systems of the 3 circles. I put as you gave me the tips, to put the hoses around the ground to produce the permanent fertilizers as I was watering the plot. I put a circle around the plot of CO2, then I put the middle circle of CH3, and then I put a circle, a small one like a reactor type of thing, within the field. I use the 3 guns as a field in my corn plot that I did. I did have a lot of harvest of those. And there was plenty. A lot of people just came and took most of my seeds. We ate tamales. We make a lot of sweets that we do with the corn here. And everybody enjoyed the corn. And I kept almost a sack of the seeds that I selected for this year, from a variety of colors to a variety of what they call lines per corn. I adapted some of the seeds from South Mexico to North Mexico, and those seeds, maybe those are one of the pictures, yes, from my first phase, where corns were showing 3 shoots and sometimes 2 shoots in the growing process. And a lot of those corns, like I showing the different corns, they were producing 3, 4, 5 corns per plant. Some of those, they developed well. Others, even they grew small size, they still produce some seeds in this small corn. It didn't produce yes, that, okay. Yeah, okay. You can show please, just to do a little recap of what I did in the 2015. But I did have a lot of success in the this is my wheat right now. My wheat that I just planted on the 14th of January. This wheat is already producing around 7 shoots, and I'm trying to see if this wheat is going to produce more than, as you say, the wheat is going to behave as grass and produce more shoots. Already is the first month since I planted, and these little plants are already branching to 7 shoots. That means it's going to be
this
7.
Is what we, excuse me, this is what we reported 3-4 years ago. So
No.
usually it should be 1 shoot, am I correct?
Not really. There are some varieties where they had more than 1 shoot. And these ones I'm trying to see is as the months go, the weeks, I can record more like a bunch, growing around 1 seed. This is only 1 seed from this variety. This is the hard wheat from the area, from this area. Even though this wheat, as I wanted to do organic growing, practically the time it was difficult to get the seed, and I got the seed that regularly, everybody's planting. But what I did for the seed was blown into the ground, Then with a big tractor, I did a mixture of the 3 guns, and I coated the seed before it was buried by the tractor. That was my treatment of the nano coating for the seed, for the wheat.
Can you please repeat that again, please? What you did?
Okay, we got the regular seed that everybody was using here in the area. There was a call to plant about 500 acres, hectares of wheat in the area. And I decided to be outside of the chemical thing and just apply guns, not any chemical. Everybody is applying urea and applying, the different chemicals. I'm overseeing another plot from another grower that he's growing the same stuff, but with urea, and I'm using only the application of the guns with my fertilizers that I'm creating. I sent some pictures about the fertilizers, the tips you gave me about using the bones and using, the nano-coated hoses to put in the ground for my vegetables, and I'm starting a new cycle for vegetables and for more corn, But I have 4.5 hectares of wheat that are growing with guns, and I divided the land into plots, into two hectares. One side I put only CO2. I mixed that in like a 500 liters of mixture that I did with guns and with the fertilizers that I'm creating. And I sprayed the seed before it was buried. That's what I explained in the beginning. One plot has CO2, the other one has 3 guns, CS3, CO2, and copper guns with silver guns. All of them were extracted from seawater. And that's the treatment that I did for the land. At this point, I'm ready to start throwing my nanomaterials as I did before. My nails, my pieces of metal all around the areas. That's an extra treatment that I'm doing to the land. The reason I'm doing this is because close to the area where I live, these are one of my units. These are my energizing units that I'm going to be using around my water, where the water comes to my land. This has the same ideas of the HAL blueprint, where you put these coils for the body. Well, I want to use it for the water. I want to put 2 of those coils around where the water comes out to energize the water and to also neutralize any chemical. This is my corns that I harvested from the last year, and they are being in a plasmatic soaking. The inside part is a device that I use to produce a field around the corn that is going to be prepared for planting. This has a double wall container that has the tree guns, and I'm producing the fields for a couple weeks around the corns. You know, the different these are already selected according to the number of lines that every corn was producing. You know, I got corn from 8 lines, you know, 12, 14, 16, 18 lines. These are popcorns, this variety. This is one of the varieties of popcorn that I got. On these varieties, even they were not close to pollinate, you know, to self-pollinate. These varieties were showing anomalies too, you know, growing 5 corns or growing, you know, in different, like one corn will come on the top of the plant instead of the male flower. And at the same time, at the side of the corn, you will see a little pollinating branch. That's how the corn grows, you know, with the male branches to pollinate the middle where the ears are of the corn. And these are one of the varieties that I use from, these are the red corns and the pink, and I also got some yellow mixtures and some purple mixtures corns that I got in the harvesting time. Now, like I said, I've been selecting this corn to do my spring phase, where I want to plant these seeds again. And this is going to be the 3rd time that the seed is planted. The original, the one that I harvest, and this is going to be the 3rd time that I'm going to be planting the same seed. All of these were grown with the nanomaterials. Some of these were sprayed with the guns in my 3rd phase. I used only CO2, and like I say, a couple times I did spray the roots with copper to just, you know, kill some funguses on the ground in case that there was something. But I didn't see any problems with the thing. The only thing at the end of the year, because the cycle was a little off, this is the container that I use for the tractor to spray the 500 liters of mixture of CO2 with the fertilizers that I've been using, and also some. This is 1 liter of gun that I use of CO2, CH3, and the copper oxide that I use in my 500 liters per half, you know, of the land. Like
So
I say,
you don't use any chemicals, or you use
not all chemicals, only the guns. And
Can I ask
and
you a
the
question before you go any further? Because you said a lot. You're giving us a lot of information. Because first of all, you're processing it in a natural way. The other thing which is interesting to know is, did you see any parasite in your structure compared to the other farmers?
right now, what I'm observing right now is that between myself and another one, we planted the seed almost the same day. My seed, the wheat, has grown almost twice, and at that point, I have only given 2 irrigations, and this person has already more than 2 irrigations, and they put urea, and still my wheat is almost twice bigger than them. And then that's what I'm observing right today. I did some diggings, and that's what I found, that the wheat is producing from 3 to 7 shoots per seed. I mean, it's producing a lot of shoots. I'm hoping there's going to be more shoots. You know, I want to have more tons per acre than the regular.
can I ask you a question? Because you said now is your third year harvesting with CO2.
With the nanomaterial, yeah, with the CO2 since I start, you know. But these land.
What I want to ask you, do you see, because you most probably been farming years before, if you have such a reference, or you can compare to the other farmers in your area, what is your harvest change? Is it less? Is it equal? Or you harvest more?
The situation is very interesting here. For example, for wheat wasn't grown for a few years in this area, and now wheat is coming back to be grown. And I don't have any comparison right now because of that. Just this year is going to be my comparison type with this type of growth, because, like I said, it's new. Oh, okay. Maybe Jan touched my because I am myself, when I, like I said, I don't have right now my other system working. That's where I'm kind of holding the phone. You know,
yeah, but what is interesting, did you have any reduction last year compared to the first year in harvest, or was it the same?
Okay, last year what I did grow was some plots of the corn and some vegetables. I did have a lot of success in the vegetables that I grow, like in this beds that you see in front. I put a lot of lettuce. I put a lot of cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower. I grew this. I mean, people were really amazed with what I harvest, because it will stay days outside in the heat, and the plant won't wither. It will keep strong, hydrated, you know, with the guns, you know, and with the at the same time the structure what I was doing.
Stop, please.
Yes.
No, because it's important. This brings something very important in line, because we got to learn from you. You are the tester. You said the plant does not dehydrate.
No, it didn't dehydrate. It took a long time for the plant to really go, you know, to wither outside. And I left it on purpose outside of my house. You know, when I was giving what I call the box. It's called the organic box for everybody. Everybody was getting, you know, a box with, you know, 2 lettuce, 1 cabbage, and then put in some cilantro seeds, put in some radishes. I was making a little, you know, a small box for everybody who was ordering for me, you know, from the organic stuff that I was growing. And those will get strong, you know, outside. Even in June and July, you know, when the heat is strong, you know, the plants will last longer, you know, with this application.
Because
you know.
we've seen the reverse with the Chinese agriculture report, where they showed us that the plant will not freeze. So the CO2 works on both ways, both as a stop dehydration, and on the other hand, it stops the frost. The frost cannot affect it. Because the Chinese showed the both fields next to each other, we could clearly see the difference.
Yeah, I did have a little problem with that part. You know, I possibly didn't spray enough CO2 in my corn at the end of the year, where, you know, one day the frost came. It did kind of, you know, affected the leaves of the corn, but the plant still kept alive until the end of the cycle from my corn that I harvest, you know. And even though I put the rings of protection around the plot, still, you know, the corn got a little hit, you know, with that. But still, a lot of the seeds were saved, you know. It didn't affect
But if it was if you then used the CO2, what was your opinion? What would have been the difference?
I was thinking if I was using more of the application of CO2, it will help, because I did saw the growth of the corn. A lot of corn was grown in that spot, because that third phase, that's the one that I use the application of the GANs. In the other plots, I use the application of the nanomaterials on the ground, but not those plants were not sprayed with the GANs, as I did with the last phase. And I
They
did
say there is
see
no
the
photos on the
production.
live stream, Rick. Sorry, 1 second. There's a message.
Okay.
There's no photos on the live stream, Rick. Can you check, please? There's rock, I see. Okay, carry on.
Yeah,
Sorry
that's
about
fine.
Okay, all right. When I did the application of the GANs for this plant, for the third phase of the corn, that's when I saw the anomalies in the corn, where I was seeing, male flowers producing corn. Where you say sometimes that the plant will revert to the original makeup, the blueprint, where the corn was growing in the Americas, in different way how we have adapted the corn to this time. And I saw grains coming on the male flower on top, like a wheat, and and any other plant that would produce the grains as wheat. But those grains were on the top.
Could you harvest them? Could you harvest?
What happened, the birds, I wanted to protect those in some of the time, the little birds just have a feast with some of those. But I kept,
Can I ask you a question? I'm going back, asking a question. If you planted male and female seed, and you saw the males growing seeds as females do, does this
No, it doesn't work like that with the corn. Corn it pollinates by itself, and corn has the male flower on top, and the ears has the little hairs that receive the pollen. This plant will have on the same part, the top part, it will produce a little corn coming from the male flower. It will hang the corn. And that's one of the pictures that I lost. I'm trying to recoup and send you a picture. You can see the little corn hanging from the top, not in the center where the corn regularly grows, And also, some of the corns, the little pollinated sacs that have the male flower will produce, or it was producing the seeds on top, instead to form the corn as a regular way how the corn grows. These male flowers were producing seeds, corn seeds.
Yeah, okay. Now what I'm going to come to is just to add something, just to ask others who are on our line, listen to this. Maybe they can enlighten us, but it's a question which raises. And the question raises, did the male come first or the female? Or does the female has come from the male? If the male section is producing fruit or corn, does the process changes the going back to the origin? Or did the man come first or the female come first?
Good question. But what I'm observing right now with the corn, I'm trying to repeat the experiment to see if I get this of the unit. These are the units that I'm preparing for energizing the water. The same way with the health machine, I'm going to be using.
Where are you putting this? Where are you putting this unit?
Around where the water comes out. These are my 4-star, These are
I remember that. Yeah.
These are putting around the pipes. That's where the water comes for the land. I'm going to be putting those, and I'm going to be broadcasting around here in a structure similar to the health machine, like the one that Renan is doing. I'm going to put this, and I'm going to broadcast my different fertilizers, and also I want to energize the water. All these are nano-coated, and ready to be energized with.
But I think you need to cover them that you don't lose the coating. You have to cover if you're hanging these inside.
Those are not going to be touching the water. That's going to be outside. Broadcasting the information. It's going to be close where the flow of the water, because the water by itself.
Yeah, why don't you, let's see, why don't you put your product around the pipe itself?
Yeah, that was another idea that I got. But with this, because the little tube that I have inside, I'm doing the nano in these little containers in the right side. They will have a little tube that will have the fertilizers that I'm doing from the different materials that I have in the land. Like I have used the bones of the cow, and then I burn those, and I burn some corn from the last period, and I use the corn ashes with the salsa cows with the NaOH to create the concentrates that the moment that I use my plasmatic batteries and activate those coils, those are going to broadcast the field to the water and energize the water with the fertilizers as a field action. The water is going to remember the memory, it's going to be energized. And at the same time, it's going to be neutralized or any other chemical memory that the water might have from the underground. That's my idea, is to broadcast as the way the feel of the guns that I'm creating with the different fertilizers, and I'm using different minerals. I use different clays to create a clay mixture of fertilizers that will have all the minerals that will go broadcast to the water. As you say, when we broadcast these units, the animals won't need to kill another prey to eat. Well, why don't we spray and do the same thing to the plants? Just feed the plants the same way. And my idea is to come through the water to use the broadcasting system with the coils as we're doing for the health devices. Why don't we do the same thing, But my idea is to put in the center of the plasma field to pull these test tubes that will have the concentrates there. I could use, CH3 in just one spiral, or I can use a composite gun that will have all the fertilizers that the plant needs to grow. And that's my prototypes that I'm creating to structure the water through the gun's field, when the water comes out of the tube. And that's I start working today with the prototypes. And what I came about is these ping pong balls that have the magnetite. I nano-coated the black sand magnetite. Those right here, these little balls are going to be filled with black sand magnetite, nano, and inside each ball, because I want to try to duplicate the star system, where the three balls in the center are going to have the three guns. It's going to be filled with the magnetite nano with a different guns for each one, and the upper one is going to have a composite gun together. Water will flow through there, and it will make a spiral. I will repeat the same process, the same system, and I will put the three coils too, and those coils are going to get activated. In the moment the water flows through there, water is going to be purified from the memory through the process of the vortex that is going to be created inside. I could, protect the spirals, excuse me, or I can just let it go like that and let the water run through. Those are already nano-coated, the ping pong balls, and like I said, they're going to be filled with the magnetite, which Each one is going to have a different guns. Plus, that is going to be only the first section where the water comes. When the water goes out, it's going to have a number of ping pong balls in the same arrangement of the 4-star. But this one, I'm going to have the different fertilizers that I want the water to be in view and be charged for the growing of the wheat. That's one of my experiments. Right here you have another.
I think you better cover the coils which they come in touch with the water. I think after a short time there'll be no nanocoating left on them.
Yeah, my idea is those spirals are going to be locked in a little clear tubing. It's going to be a lot of a clear tubing around the spiral that is going to be touching the water, if the water is going to be running through there. But then I'm copying the system that Renner was doing with the tube inside the tube. But the tube inside the tube is going to have the magnetite with the different guns, and the water is going to flow freely in the middle, and that will also energize the water because I already have experience in that system. I did it a year before. I did a tube that is one of the pictures I send. There is a long tube that has the magnetite inside with the guns. That's one of my previous experiments that I did to structure the water with magnetite. The reason why I'm saying magnetite is because the magnetite has the natural magnetism of the Earth. It doesn't have this frequency created by the...
Let me explain. Let me correct you. You are mixing a lot of sciences together just to justify. This doesn't exist. There is no frequency in plasma, and there is no resonance. So what you do, you don't magnetize the water. Magnetizing is a single word, but you're using both gravitational and magnetical field. So what you're doing is changing the plasma of the water. The information I changed the information. The plasma does not carry information, it carries a strength. That is its information.
What I was talking, I understand that.
Yeah, no, because if we use the right terminology, then we understand it in a correct way. You're doing a fantastic job. I've seen your work before. But the only thing is, I think you better cover anything which comes with the water direct in your system should not be nano-coated unless you can cover them. That then you don't pass on nanomaterial and you pass the energy of it.
Yeah, my one of the devices, the ping pong balls are I did nano-coat those in the outside, but the magnetite is getting inside the ping pong balls. The idea, what I was saying before about the magnetism, I'm not using in the sense of how the magnets are created, with this 60 hertz current. The natural magnetism of the magnetite that I'm getting is the natural, stones has magnetism that the planet, kind of energized to be magnetite. I'm using those kind of black sun magnetite as a feel of the guns, feel the plasma.
Let's put it in a different way. Even if the stone use a magnetite, or you call it the stone is magnetized, now that we have expanded the knowledge, the stone itself carries a plasma. You get both the field, the stone takes and gives. So now that we understand more, it's better to use the right understanding. And this is important because anything, especially when you put it in the water we know is hydrogen and oxygen is in a plasmatic condition. So if you give it magnetism, just where does it go, the gravity? What does it give to if it takes? So now that we know more, if we use the right terminology, you increase the energy of its plasma.
Yes.
So, you are the teachers, you are the heads of these sections in teaching us. If we use the right terminology from the beginning, then people understand it because the mind frame stays in the plasma, please.
Yeah, I want to increase the plasma field of the water through the action of the natural plasma field that the magnetic magnetite has. And because I'm putting the GANs in a mixture of the nano that I did, you know, I got the magnetite as you would get a regular magnet, and I did the nanocoating process. And each little ping pong ball is going to have a different GANs inside. Those are going to be the areas where the water is going to vortex through to get energized when it goes to irrigate the field.
Can we use this as a blueprint, please, Renan? Renan, are you in the background?
I already sent an idea, Renan, about what one of my prototypes that I was trying to share, you know. But I need to give more details of one of the units that I'm doing, because, you know, the similar process that Renan is doing with coiling the pipe around the other tube, you know, the water pipe. I can use the same system, and it already did it with the magnetite, you know, and I protected the sheet that goes outside, and the water just runs freely through the inside. But this time, the upper field, the tube within the tube is filled with the field of the magnetite with a mixture of the GANs. The water is going to be energized by the field, you know. And the other one, I using the coil, but I'm doing the infinite loop inside the tube. I'm putting 7 infinite loops, and those infinite loops, nanocoat wire, is going to be filled with also with a magnetite with GANs. It's going to be a strong field that the water that runs in the center of the unit that irrigates the land is going to be charged with the field of these GANs, you know, of the plasma. I will say the plasma field produced by the GANs in the tube is going to energize the water. And I'm hoping that your opinion, see what you think, is that also will neutralize the memory of what it has from the chemicals that you get from the underground. I'm trying to organize back the water, to structure the water through this system that the plants will receive a broadcast of the fertilizers that I'm putting in every, you know, and every coil is being using the same system that with the help pen, you know, every coil is being baked with different fertilizers before I put it inside this little plastic tube. These ones are just samples. The ones that are going to be running through the inside are going to be protected in this plastic tube. And I have a hole through the top of the PVC pipe where I'm going to seal it with silicone. But those are going to be energized with the plasma batteries to create the same thing with the health and the helmet type of thing, you know. But those are going to be close to the water pipe where the water is, you know, going to the field. That was one of the prototypes that I want to develop, you know. And this is going to be used for my third irrigation phase. I already gave 2 irrigations to the wheat, and this is going to be my third prototype. And now I would say it's going to be my third phase where I'm going to use this prototype to irrigate the wheat. And from there, I'm going to be taking more data to see how the wheat are going to start measuring the bricks, the content, how the wheat is getting the nutrients. I'm going to start measuring from this week, you know, extracting some wheat and do my spectrography. I'm using my spectrometer to measure the bricks, the sugar content that this process is going to be, you know, developing. And also I'm going to be using these systems in my vegetables too, because I'm going to be putting underground, I want to bury those, and water is going to flow through those areas where the vegetables are going to be receiving the water. That's going to be part of the experiment too now for the vegetables with these units. Right here, the ones that you see, these little bowls, they have the spirals similar to the 90 degrees, but these ones can be dropped in my water reservoir to also energize the water in my reservoir. I could put one inside too.
If we've done this experiment, those of you who have a reservoir for water for agriculture or swimming pool, where you see a lot of algae are growing in the water, we have tested and we have put a small piece of nano-coated copper in a plastic bag and we have hung it in the water. For past 3, 4, 5 months, we saw no algae at all, where before we have to clean them off the wall. So if you are using water tanks or water reserves, a small piece, we're using a 10 by 15 centimeter, if that, in a swimming pool, and we haven't seen any algae, which is very, very unusual. So in your water tanks, you can put algae to get rid of if there are any algae.
All right. I was thinking in using the same sponges, and I was trying to ask you if the water will run through the nanomaterials as you did in the Fukushima experiment, where they were put this thing to purify the water. What is the effect that if my water runs through those copper things into my field? It will kill all the microflora of the ground because just running through the copper, or will also change the pH of the water when it runs through there. Will that affect the growth of the field? And the hello? You hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Because I was trying to develop different prototypes. I want to develop the ones with the copper is not going to be touching the water. Only the field of the plasma is going to be touching the inside where the water flows. But I wanted to do some tests where I can flow through these, nano-coated copper pipes too inside to see if that could be used as a sanitizer instead of using the insecticides or anything, herbicides, to use a copper pipe to spray also for the protection of some pests or any.
This is what we suggested with an hour ago with the discussion in respect to the potatoes in Kenya. This is what we think it is because we tested it and we don't see parasite. Maybe it attracts new parasites, but what we've seen up to now, there is no parasite.
So I do have a couple prototypes I'm going to be developing in that sense to just spray the plant. The ones that I see that are getting sick, not every single plant, and I want to spray to all of them. I'm going to use it as a control device for this thing. But my whole idea is to broadcast from these. These are the tops that you put in the PVC pipes, where I'm putting the spirals here, 2 spirals, one at 90 degrees phase right there. And in the inside of each little cup is the little test tube that has the different, either different guns or different fertilizers that I'm growing to broadcast to the wild. I don't know, I saw that we can, feed from them. I was thinking, feeding the water through all the fertilizers that I'm using with my bones, with my seed guns, and the different.
does your plant need these things?
Well, we need a lot of the nutrients because I'm not using no fertilizers like everybody's using here.
Yeah, but do you need to put these things inside, or would the field of what is created in those coils is sufficient enough?
Well, I don't know, but you know, when you mentioned that we can create these fertilizers, these nano from the bones, from the different ashes, and then do the whole nano process we have been learning, I came with the process of broadcasting through the same system, you know. These
It's a good idea.
signatures, these signatures, maybe I would say, well, I don't need to apply any fertilizers.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you a question? We're done with other people who brought us the knowledge today. What can you? We know you. You came to us in other teachings. Can you explain to us what's your background and what do you do?
Well, I went to school to be a biochemist. I went to, you know, here in Mexico for one of the universities, and I went and then to Arizona State University to finish my degree in biochemistry. But then I sidetracked on the health field. And I am a therapist, and like I say, I always like to come with a way how to help, you know, people with a better nutrition and things. And this time, I decided to go to the nutrition part, where I will grow organically, you know, all the food. And then that's when I start, you know, working in the field. Even though since I was little, I was growing corn, you know, it was part of my makeup, you know, just to grow these different things. But this time when I saw your first video and I started learning, you know, I started, you know, my mind started clicking and started, you know, thinking about different ways of growing. And that's what I dedicate part of the research to the food production. And to, you know, better organic, you know, try to create a bank seed of pure seeds, you know. And I'm recouping some of the seeds that we lost here in my area, like corn. We lost the seed of the corn through the, I would say, manipulation or whatever, you know. Now people that have the seed, and then I'm reproducing the seed that we lost in the area. That's part of my experiment too with this technology.
Can I ask you another question? I asked before, somehow we got to get an answer to it. Compared in the corn side, compared to the past, did you have an increase? You said you see 2 or 3 or 5 corn. What was the harvest more than before, and how much, or less than before, how much?
Well, in my experience before, I never saw, you know, corns producing plants, 4 corns or 5 corns from the varieties that we grow here in this valley, you know. I didn't see more than 2, you know, corns per plant. This time I saw, you know, 5, you know, developing.
Yeah, but the harvest end product.
The harvest, yeah, I did produce this. The ones that I used with CO2, it did produce a lot, and I saw the huge corns that came, you know, from the application of the guns in the fields that I created, you know, because I created the 3 circles as the energy units, MAGRAP units.
Could you give us a ratio compared to the others? How much more? Is it equal, 10% more? 10%?
No, I would say, if I compare with my first and second phase that I put, because I was using different conditions every time, my third phase went almost, I would say, almost double the production that I have from my first and second phase. I saw the corn more strong and more thick. They were, you know, that's the reason I have 7 varieties of corn with the different ears, you know. I mean, different lines. I got corns that produce it, you know, like a per line of corns from, you know, from 8 to 18. And those were thick corns, you know. I saw really the production, they was really better than these.
What about the taste and the texture?
Well, the taste, that's the reason I did take some pictures when we make some tamales and some sweet things that we do with the corn syrup, you know, with the milk of the corn. We did really good milk candies with them, and it was delicious. You know, everybody, you know, almost has to be careful that nobody took all my corn that I grew with the nanomaterials, you know. And everybody enjoy it. You know, it was really tasty. It was really good. And I don't have those pictures here, but you know, I have the savoring that we did of this corn with the traditional dishes we do in Mexico. You know, with tamales and with sweet puri that we do with the corn. You know, leche de lote we call it, and it was really good. People enjoy it. You know. But like I said, I wanna duplicate this time because I have the original seeds grown already with the nanomaterials. Now I want to see the effect that I want to have in the fourth phase of growing. You know, that's going to be the third phase, the third time the seed being sown. You know, in the area, and from there it's going to give me a better idea. You know, of what happened with the seeds, with the nanomaterials and with the guns, you know. And now because this land is already being treated with the guns, I sprayed the guns in the land. And like I say, I made a mixture of the 3 guns and I sprayed with a big tractor, you know, and fumigated the land with the nanomaterials. Especially, let's say, the wood. My idea is because the wood can prepare with a pink herbicide that they use around the plant. I wanted to neutralize the chemical effect that these people put on the seeds, because